Live tonight from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2021 Real Sim Racing IWRAPS Winter Series season opener from the World Center of Racing. We're happy to have you along for a 7th season of RSR Winter Series competition, this year live as always on RaceSpotTV. We're alongside our producer Hugo Luis, myself, Evan Pasoko. Happy to be joined by our Junior Kankipati on the call, and we're back. It feels like we were just Cup Series racing. It's because we were. It was just a couple of weeks ago where Andrew Faridas claimed a 3rd straight Cup Series championship, and our Junior, he's going to try to do the same thing in this Winter Series as the Xfinity cars come out of the garage.
Yeah, he's been so dominant in, real sim racing competition, and with a very varied schedule here in the Winter Series. We've got some great super speedways, we've got some very interesting road courses, and some short tracks to boot. So it's going to be interesting here, and Xfinity cars heading out on track for qualifying right now. This should be a great way to blow off some steam, Evan, in the off-season.
Yeah, a lot of mix of new drivers and whatnot. Here's your schedule. So we kick it off at Daytona. The notables, there are 2 plate racing tracks. Tonight at Daytona, the second last race of the season on the 18th of January at Talladega. You mentioned the road races, though. It is, Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve that makes its debut for round number 4. We'll also go to a 2-week trip out to Indianapolis. First to the short track at Lucas Oil Raceway, and then the Indianapolis road course for rounds 7 and 8. You got a Las Vegas finale. You got a track like New Hampshire that was not on the Cup Series calendar in there. You've got Iowa on the calendar that's no longer going to be used for NASCAR Xfinity Series racing, at least for 21 in real-life competition. Stays on the calendar here in the Winter Series. But unlike in Cup, there is no elaborate playoff system, win and you're in. It's simple. 10 weeks, best driver at the end of 10 weeks becomes the 7th champion of RSR's Winter Series, and no more difficult way to get it kicked off than, of course, the high banks here at Daytona International Speedway, because we have one added little bit in this race that we're not used to seeing. 44 drivers have attempted or are currently attempting to qualify for this race. There's only 43 spots on the grid. We're not used to seeing bumps in RSR competition, not likely to be a storyline all year, but nobody wants to be that one guy, right, that obviously misses out in this opener. So it's going to be tight qualifying, single car runs happening right now.
Yeah, 45 cars out on track, so 2 drivers going to miss out. You don't want to start the season off like that, Evan. You don't want to miss out on all the fun, and Daytona is such an interesting track to race at, and, the RSR guys always have a lot of fun here, 2-3 wide throughout the 80 laps that we're expecting, so you don't want to be out, and right now, a lot of time starting to come in. Let's see how close those margins are going to be.
And of course, looking for them to kind of use the outside of the racetrack to go slower on their first lap to build up some speed. And now that these second laps are coming in, I can see the timing charts going crazy as times come in. Bobby Krug quickly to the top of the board, but all these drivers are currently on lap number 1. So this is all going to change abruptly, and it's all going to happen relatively at the same time with about 2 minutes left in the qualifying session. Here come our lap 2s. So let's see, Matt Mara to the top of the board. Everybody completing their second lap. So this is where the shuffling comes from. Daniel Eberhardt now, who challenged Faridas for that Cup Series title. He goes right now to provisional pole.
Eberhardt, a very aggressive driver at times, with the margins very, very tight. Just over 1/10 of a second separating the top 19 drivers. 41 drivers have set times right now, so a few drivers having issues. And I see Gary Weaver has put in the in-race chat, Evan, that he's had some issues, so looking like at least one driver not having the best of luck out there on track.
Well, one thing we were talking about is in a plate race, oftentimes a lot of drivers would not queue. About a third of the field would opt not to qualify intentionally just to try to hang back and stay out of some of the early drama. You can't do that in this situation, as Dane Cruz now goes to the top of the board. Just as they say that, it's Matt Danson now, P1. About 60% of this field is drivers that raced in the Cup Series. Look at all these times now coming in at the top of the board as Kyle Trudell now goes to P1. 60% of these drivers, though, raced in the Cup Series this year. The other 40% is a mix of RSR rookies and some drivers who race the Winter Series annually.
Yeah, and you talk about the competition being so close right now, just over 0.2 of a second separating 42 drivers. That's incredible right now. John Ellenberg, the one driver that we're waiting to set a more competitive lap time, so we'll see what happens. Sam Nieto has had some hardware issues, so he's also not been able to set a competitive lap time. So Ellenberger looking to try and put a lap time that will get him into the field.
Yeah, there's only 0.2 of a second from first down to last, and then Ellenberg was way back, but there's his lap time. He'll go top 10, and look at Sam Nieto on track right now, but the clock in the top left corner, 2, 1, 0. They have a little bit of extra time, but he is not going to make it around to finish his lap. Sam Nieto disconnected from the session during qualifying. He will not get a time put down, and that means that of the 44 drivers who took to the racetrack, Sam Nieto, I think, going to be the driver who misses this season opener, and that is courtesy of not even being able to put a time in, and he's understandably very frustrated.
And sometimes it happens, you know, and just gotta recover from this and come back next week. Nieto, a regular competitor in the RSR competitions, Evan, and he'll be back next week, I'm sure, stronger than ever.
So now we'll wait a few minutes. These drivers have an opportunity to kind of decompress, and maybe as we wait now is a good opportunity to welcome in the third member of our broadcast team. He was on the call for a couple of the races in the RealSimRacing Cup Series this year, but for the Winter Series, he'll be behind the wheel, and that's Dylan Coyle, who's going to be our RaceSpotTV in-race reporter for this, and he's also got the RaceSpotTV colors on the car. Dylan, I know you were nervous when you loaded into the session. Now that you know you've made the race, you feeling any better?
We'll see. We'll see. I'm really happy with my qualifying. I think I got what is 11th? Is that where I'm starting? I don't know. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll make sure to provide all the analysis of, you know, a mediocre sim racer in this race, and I'm excited. I'm really excited for it. Got race spot on, got hashtag Wawa better than Sheets. That's not the hashtag on my car, but it should be. But Wawa's on the car, got to represent. And yeah, I know Evan, Arjuna, you two are very staunchly disagreeing with me on that. But yeah, I'm excited for this race, and also extremely nervous.
Well, I don't think you mentioned as well when you're getting out there for Q that you hadn't, you know, been in a race, you know, in the sim like this in quite some time. So the fact that it's Daytona, is that better or worse? Because I guess the mechanics are a little bit simpler. You don't really have to memorize braking points and all that, but also it's a lot more fidgety and precise.
Yeah, I feel like in that aspect, it's more nerve-wracking because, yes, while I have not had sim time over the past few weeks, it's still extremely nerve-wracking that you were going to be going at times 3 wide here at Daytona. So, I mean, I was in practice and I just shot not even a car width up from the lower lane, and already I was getting turned. So the margins are so ultra thin, and it's so important to just be smooth with your motions on the wheel. As you see my wheel right here, it's probably not going to be smooth that much. But is Daytona the best for a rookie in this series? No. Thanks, Evan.
Well, I'm happy to help. And on the point of Daytona, it's something that me and Arjuna were just talking about. Normally, you have a significant portion of the field in a race like this who doesn't want to queue, right? They want to hang out at the back, kind of feel things out, especially when you really don't know the guys you're racing around. Obviously, you've maybe psychoanalyzed them by calling some of the Cup Series races, but haven't been on track with them. You had to queue based on the way the qualifying format worked tonight because we did send a driver home. So you're going to be right in the thick of things. I think you are right around P10, which is a really good starting position. Can you take it easy from P10? I mean, what's the strategy going to be? You drop into the back? Are you going to stay up there? How are you going to survive mainly this 80-lap race, knowing that none of these RSR events have any quick fixes? So keeping the car in one piece, I think objective number one before we can start thinking about late in the race, how do I win this thing?
So my strategy is just to be conservative. If there is a lot of shuffling happening up front, I'm not going to add to it, but I'm not going to actively get out of the shuffle, if that makes sense. You know, if there's drivers in front of me getting a little bit racy, I'll back off a little bit. But I'm not planning to race aggressively at all. So that means I'm not going to drop back. It's not going to mean I want to drop or go all the way up into P1. If I'm starting P11, I want to be in P11 until 5 laps to go. That's kind of my mantra, but it's Daytona, it's super speedway racing. What do you want me to say? Everything can happen.
We'll be bugging you, I'm sure, a lot as this race goes on. If you're doing good, if you're doing bad. Our junior, I'm good with him for now. Do you have any questions for our in-race reporter before we send him off?
No, I'll just ask you about qualifying there, Dylan. How did that go? You talk about the nerves, but first time out on track in a competitive series in a while for you, I think. So I'm sure you were white-knuckling that wheel just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. And if we're being honest here, I have not been in an iRacing league ever. So this is my first ever real session with RealSimRacing. I got you there. And you know what? I feel like at the end of the day, white knuckling for sure. I was just trying to run the low line. You know, got a little bit of my left side tires onto the yellow, and then just, you know, just tried to deal with that. So as much as I could, I tried, and I think I did well.
But one more question for you. How are you feeling about the proposition of green flag pit stops? That's always something that's interesting here at the super speedways. Are you nervous or are you excited for something like that?
I have a question for you, Arjunia. Is, in your opinion, Wawa better than Sheets?
No. And we'll find this out on track. We've got that Sheets versus Wawa battle.
What's
that we're
the
gonna
answer?
see.
Because it's the same as if I'm looking forward to green flag pit stops. I'm not.
Fair enough. But I'm sure that'll be something to do. And Evan, let's move on, I think, to some of the other drivers, because they're now waiting to get interviewed in the waiting room.
Yeah, and we do have, I believe, our pole sitter for this race, and that's going to be Kyle Trudell, who's going to start this one from pole. We're on the radio now with the driver of the number 7. Kyle, you've got the best seat in the house for the Winter Series opener. How you feeling?
Yeah, man, I'm feeling pretty good. I had a good lap there. I was kind of surprised. I was, you know, after with a good showing here, we got, what, I don't know, 45 people or so, whatever it was. You know, really just trying to hit the best lap. I mean, and ended up doing the best lap I'd run here in a little practice that I had. So turned out good. Hopefully we can have a good night.
You're starting up front. Is the objective going to be to keep it up front all night? I don't think maybe that you would have. I mean, this is the point we've been talking about all pre-race, right? That if you wanted to hang back, you really couldn't because you had the queue. So is the strategy to be up front and race all night, or are you going to be a little bit more conservative if the guys on your bumper are being a little bit crazy?
Yeah, well, something I was missing last year, or at least in the Cup Series, you know, was leading laps and getting bonus points. And so that's the goal for me personally, is to try to get some more bonus points, you know, in these 10 races. And so I'll try to probably stay out there, kind of see how the race shapes up. I'll try to stay up front and at least lead out here. If I get shuffled back, I think I'll probably end up dropping to the back a little bit and just ride. I want to get through this first pit stop. Hopefully, if it's on the green, which I hope for, then you know, we can kind of go from there. And got some great teammates tonight with Extreme Performance Motorsports. Just some good-looking cars out there, and try to hook up with them and see if we can't go to the front.
We're looking forward to a good race, Kyle. We'll let you get to it. Good luck.
Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the show.
The driver on the top step of the qualifying spots, and we are now ready to go racing for the first time in this 2021 Winter Series. Let's go trackside and take a look at your IWRAPS starting grid. So Kyle Trudell is on pole position for this one, to be joined alongside by Dominic Howe, Liam Sheen, Matt Danson rolling to row 2. That's going to be 3rd and 4th with Garen Hess and Stephen Price, P5 and 6. Trevin Valderrama starts from 7th with Dane Cruz rolling P8. Daniel Everhart is 9th and John Ellenberg P10.
Darren Miller then in 11th place with RaceSpot's own Dylan Coyle next to him in 12th position. Row number 6 coming up. Ross Cato for Fast Forward Esports in the 12, with Andrew Farijnaj in the number 88. Steve Soa in the number 75 starts in 15th, with Kyle Kamer on his outside. Joseph Dice in 17th place with Michael Kaczynski in 18th. Nick Silver will line up in the number 24 on the inside of row number 10, with Matthew Maurer on his outside.
Continuing on through, you've got Michael Araya and as well the number 22 of Marius Lachinsky. You've also got, continuing on through, Jared Winemaster, David Washington, Ryan Chambliss through P25, Joe Berge. You've also got Eric Stanford, Brandon Key, John Ronan, Bobby Crew through 30.
Sean Kalis is going to start in 31st. Big grid here today with Steve Darman 32nd, John Fowler in the number 52 in 33rd, with Braxton DeWeese in 34th. Anthony Frederick's going to line up in 35th with Stephen Aboye in 36th. James Ross will line up in 37th. Thomas George on his outside. Tom Morano in 39th place, with Devin Winfield in 40th.
And at the very back of the field, those drivers who just made the mark: Gary Weaver, Nick Barra, and Shane Parrish through the 43. Sam Nieto, the driver who does not advance to this race. That is a huge, unfortunate break for the driver who finished 4th in this series last year in the 2019 and 2020 campaign. We're happy that you're with us, though, as we mentioned, for a 7th time for RSR's Winter Series. The biggest thanks to the team at IWRAPS for being our title sponsor this year, and for all of you for tuning in here on RaceSpotTV. The pace car going to dive down and in as we get set to drop the green flag on the IWRAPS 250. The field in the hands of the number 7, Kyle Trudell, going to bring us to the green flag as we say, let's go Winter Series racing from Daytona. Look down the back straightaway, you can already see at least 3 cars below the double yellow line intentionally trying to drop back, as up front it's Dominic Howe taking over the race lead in turn number 3.
Yeah, we talked about how the bumping of certain cars was going to mean that some drivers would want to drop to the back, but right now you see out front 2 wide, about 5 rows deep, as you see that main pack starting to break away just very slightly, Evan, from some of the stragglers at the back.
Yeah, very strung out start to this race. You can see the outside lines got 2 wide support through the top 20 or so, and then it starts to string out from there. You got the number 22 with Stephen Price. He may want to be going backwards, but because he's on the outside, he can only go up the road. So he's been kind of wall riding the last lap and a half, maybe trying to drop back just a little bit, as we saw Dominic Howe lead the opening lap of this race. But for how long? Here comes a push and a big slide up the racetrack, as it is now Matt Danson in control of the field, as he'll take over the race lead early in this one. New drivers, different cars than what they've been driving all year. We haven't been in these Xfinity Series cars since last year's Winter Series. Everybody trying to get acclimated, but up front, not taking it that easy. You can see all the cars on that wide shot that are trying to drop backwards.
Yeah, but there's also some dicing happening further back. You see 3 wide for about 8th place in this main queue, but that rear pack is actually fighting a lot more than I'd expect early on in this one. You see 100 laps up on the left-hand side of your screen, so there's a long race still to go, and Daniel Eberhardt on the outside right now, giving a good push to the driver in front of him.
There's your first on-board look as we ride with the number 90 machine. That is Daniel Eberhardt on the outside. So close to snapping the Andrew Farijnaj show, who had won his 3rd straight Cup Series championship just a couple of weeks ago at Phoenix. Wants to do the same in this Winter Series. Andrew, also the 2-time defending Winter champion from 2017, 18, and 2019, 20. And this is a man who has the capability to do it with SK Sim Racing this year.
And look at the focus on his face, Evan. He's very relaxed, but at the same time intent on what he's doing, which is managing his temps and trying to push the 46 in front of him to get out to the race lead. There is a few cars now starting to form up behind him, giving him a little bit of help. And he's actually going to poke his nose up to the high line, get a little bit of clean air for that engine.
Going to cause him to drop back. Look at the 27 of Jeremy Miller. Going to go up through the middle, and I think that's the 8 of Kyle Kamer as well, following on through. So he'll drop to the end of that kind of 4-car group on the outside line. He's now 5th in line of those drivers on the outside. And it's not only a learning period for the drivers, but admittedly a learning period for me, trying to figure out who's who with the new paint schemes, new numbers, new team affiliations, and new drivers. But so exciting to see a full field in this Winter Series opener. The cars on the bottom, not that stressed right now. As you can see, they're kind of all holding their line. There's the pass, though, for the race lead. Jumping back down in front of Matt Hansen. You know, the guys like Cato, Valderrama, a couple of rows back on the bottom, doing a good job of just maintaining their position right now.
And it's good to see the Xfinity cars back out there, Evan. In my experience, it's a bit more of a handful to drive in these super speedways and a bit more of a challenge for these drivers in the opening round of our winter season. And I think they're all up for the challenge. 6 laps into this one, we managed to get through the start cleanly, and for the most part, everyone's respectful of each other. They're not trying to force the issues too much, but it looks like we might actually have an issue further back. I'm seeing, yep, there we go, caution out.
That was scary, guys. that was scary.
Is Steve Soa on his lid. I think it was a connection issue that started for Ross Cato. Soa got caught up in it, and you can see trying to save it, and oh, a huge leap as he goes over the access road in 1 and 2 and flips.
Just an unfortunate one. Let's see if we can take another look at from a slightly different angle, potentially. You see the rear wheel still spinning as Soa tries to hopelessly get back going. But here comes the replay. You see that connection issue you were mentioning, and there you see slight contact with the 24, Evan.
And then you can see, I think he's going to be okay. They're wrecking behind, so the yellow's out, and then he just launches off that access road that goes to the infield. I know that we saw the monster truck setups, if you would, in the Cup cars here with the Coca-Cola Series earlier this year, but I think Steve Soa raised that because he launched that car in the air. Let's go on board with our in-race reporter, Dylan Coyle, on the replay and take a look at what that was like from his perspective as he tried to snake his way through that at a turn number 2. Dylan, what'd you see?
Smoke. It happened literally 2 cars in front of me. Actually, the action happened right in front of me. I'm not sure what you're seeing right now, but I just saw I was in the low line and I had a lot of speed, momentum. I made sure to get a lot of room between me and the car in front, and you know, just that happens. Thankfully, he didn't come back up on the outside. Thankfully, there was no car on the outside, so I could just kind of evade that entire thing. But I'm so proud that I was not the one to bring out the first yellow.
You weren't the guy that got bumped in queue, and you weren't the cause of the first yellow. So far, so good through the opening 10 laps of this one. Looks like a couple of cars coming down pit road. I think a majority of the field would be coming in for repairs at this point. One thing we haven't mentioned so far tonight, Arjuna, is that we do have limited tire sets. It's not a huge factor in tonight's race. It'll be, you know, more of a factor as the season goes on. We get the tracks like Richmond and whatnot, but they are limited to 3 sets of tires. But I think most of the field coming in just to maybe top off on some gas and get any damage fixed, because Soa was the highlight there on his lid, but you saw behind kind of all the cars that got together, so I'm sure there's quite a few cars that need some fixing.
Yeah, it seems like everyone from about Dylan on back, so 11th on back, has come down the pit lane. I do think a few cars have managed to miss their pit box, unfortunately. The 25 of Brian Chambliss and the number 51, Bobby Krug. I see both of them coming down the pit lane, but not actually taking any service, so potentially missed their box there. But everyone else, like you say, in the box, taking some damage repairs right now.
Look at Matt Danson, who rides right now in the number 2 position, started 4th, worked his way up. There's a couple of other drivers, you know, up front who decide not to pit. Basically, your top 12 all stay out 13th on back into the pits, and that's for a variety of reasons. If it's damage fix, if it's for topping off on fuel. Wondering if maybe the decision to pit now, maybe that 10-lap difference would help them make a fuel number, you know, to maybe try to one-stop this race to the end and go 45 laps. They do have a full fuel cell, and that may be the case because even more cars are coming in. Fowler, Chambliss, Krug, you got Eberhardt, you got Cato coming down pit road, so more drivers need to top it off as the lights go out on top of the pace car. So maybe it is a fuel strategy, hoping to get those things packed full of fuel, and then if this race goes green, maybe have an advantage.
Or maybe even just try something different in terms of playing the fuel strategy with caution. So we'll see how that works out. Basically, everyone who came down the pit lane the first time around has come back down to top off like Evan was mentioning. So lights off on the pace car, cars forming up too wide. About to go back to racing with 91 laps to go in this race.
You saw a lot of cars barely beat the pace car off of pit road, so they're going to have to go all the way around to catch back up. Your running order at the top of your screen going to be Dominic Howe, Matt Danson, Dane Cruz, Kyle Trudell, and Garrett Hess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Miller, Kamer, Valderrama, Burgee, and Winemaster. Your top 10, Dylan Coyle running P11, going to be the last of the cars who has not come down pit road, which means more cars having pitted than those who have not, trying to get that fuel difference or damage repaired early in this one. And honestly, you know, Arjuna, we mentioned that you saw some of the dicing going on towards the back of the pack, but I didn't see anything kind of out of the ordinary. I don't think anybody was overly aggressive. I think it was just that connection issue with Cato that kind of spooked and caused the incident with Soa there. So I wonder if these drivers are going to maintain that level of aggressiveness, because as you mentioned, it is a 100-lap race. There's a long way to go coming to 91 laps to go.
Yeah, really long way to go. So we'll see how some of these drivers are choosing to approach it. We haven't gone single file at the front like sometimes we see in the real world, but pace car down onto the safety of pit lane, and we go back to green flag racing.
Pretty strong start for the cars on the inside. I saw one driver go high to low, top down. It's going to be a 2-car length advantage on the inside. It's Howe pushed by Cruz. Let's go on board. Couple of rows back. Another one of the RealSimRacing drivers. That's Kyle Kamer. He works right now in P6.
And again, look at the focus, but watch his eyes as well, darting to the left-hand side, to the right-hand side, watching the different runs. You'll see him dart down occasionally as well. Check his engine levels, make sure he's not overheating that engine. But a lot of focus right now on all of these drivers. They're on speeds in excess of almost 300 kilometers an hour in the pack right now. So a lot of focus, and you see right now drivers trying not to go up into each other.
It is a very thin margin. They are not using the whole track, right? The cars on the outside line are basically running in the middle line of the racetrack. So those cars down low, you can't really afford to step up a couple of feet into the corner, or you're going to get into somebody, you're going to cause an incident, and if you claim it, you get an end of the longest line penalty. If you don't, you're going to be penalized post-race with penalty points, and if you get too many of those, if you get 6 total, you'll be parked for a week. So it encourages all these drivers to take it easy. And you can see when we went on board there with Trudell, you see that number 8 car still running 4th in line on the bottom, that it's not just, you know, one turn to the left that he holds it, right? He's kind of sawing back and forth on the wheel. That's just feeling the car. So a push up the hill doesn't surprise him. So he keeps on top of it. And you can see this lead breakaway. It's about the top 13, 14 cars or so, side by side, all within a half a second of each other.
Yeah, and the outside is starting to get formed up right now, starting to build that momentum. We'll see how that's going to work out. There was an incident I'm seeing on my timing screen, but fortunately no caution flying out, so this main pack keeping it clean. The rest of your field single file for the most part as things stand, but 12 laps completed and a switch for the lead out front.
Yeah, swapping it out for the race lead. Dominic Howe now finding himself leading once more on the inside of the racetrack as Matt Hansen finds himself up into that high side through turn number 4. It looks like that he's being pushed by the 7 of Kyle Trudell, and you can see for the moment, nobody really abandoning the outside. That's always the concern early in the race. If the outside doesn't get a good start, everybody's going to go to the bottom. And you can make that top if you're going to hinge hard enough you're not really going to be a viable challenge for the lead. But drivers don't seem to be wanting to bail on the top. You get about equal cars high as are low, and that's what keeps them all grouped up here together. 43 cars started this race, 37 of them still on the lead lap.
And one thing that sometimes happens on that inside line is it gets checked up, and the further back in the queue that you are, you sometimes have to lift off the throttle. You get a bit caught out at times, and that doesn't tend to happen on the outside as much. And sometimes, you know, me personally, I favor that outside line, and right now Matt Danson is trying to make that work in the 30 machine, but across the line, not leading at the line, and that inside line and those front two cars are very much hooked up right now, Evan.
Yeah, not everybody's in a situation like the leaders, right? Let's look back to the 51 machine of Bobby Krug. He started 30th. He runs 30th, right? If that doesn't look like a race car driver, I don't know who does. And he's riding right now, right? Working with the 9 of Thomas George. 30th seems like they're way back, and they are, but they're only 3 seconds off of the lead pack, and you can see that draft extends to a couple of car lengths in front of them, right? So they're in a very good position right now. They're far enough back that they're not at all the side-by-side, but they're not too far back that they've lost touch. And you can see him using a lot of radio communication, I think coordinating with some teammates or alliances that have been made. Those are also very important in a race like this at Daytona. Also going to be very important when we get to Talladega later this year, is utilizing those friendships.
Very much so, and the important thing right now is Krug has a clean car. He's riding around at the back fairly comfortably, and he'll try and work his way through the field as we work through this race. You see some other cars on the outside line right now choosing to drop further back towards the back of the pack. So different strategies, and this is always interesting to see, Evan, how from a mental perspective these drivers choose to attack the super speedway. Some of these drivers being a bit more conservative in terms of dropping all the way to the back.
And some traffic now up the road from your race leaders. John Fowler is about to go a second lap down, and Steve Soa is getting way out of the way. That's the car that was on its lid, and he'll go down to the bottom and let the lead cars go on through. Soa, the last car on track, 43rd position. It is significantly off pace, so I'm not sure if he's going to continue to try to tough this one out. But ideally, if he just logs laps as cars wreck out of this race, he'll get some points, and he won't get the least amount of points out of anybody in the field. We talked about the devastating way that this race went for the driver who failed to qualify in Sam Nieto, 4th in the points in this Winter Series last year, obviously with, I think, high hopes. Going to be very unlikely, admittedly, Arjuna, that he has a chance to fight for the championship now, because in only a 10-week season, you can't afford a big goose egg, right? He will get 10 points, though, for being that driver who failed the queue, so technically, he'll actually get more points than some of the drivers in the field, although I'm sure he would have rather have been racing.
Yeah, never the way you want to start off a season like this. And even though this is very much a off-season competition where these drivers out there in the Xfinity cars sharpening their skills, just trying some new things out, it's an opportunity, as always, to compete with some of the best. And you see right now the 46 is really pushing the 86 very, very well right now. This is some interesting stuff out front, Evan. They're about 2 wide, about 5 rows deep, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, this lead pack right now. There you see the Hornet's Nest up on your screen. They're just more and more cars getting involved and choosing to make this run 2 wide.
And the outside line has got more support coming. Daniel Eberhardt right now being pushed by the 23 of Matt Mara. That's in 19th and 20th position right now. And there's Matt's on board. We rode with him for much of the Cup Series season, and they're way checked up against the outside wall there with Daniel Eberhardt now having a connection issue. And the 45 of Winfield stayed out of Mara in the back end. You can see that he's using the VR goggles, and that's his perspective. You can see on the monitor in front of him, even though he can't see it, it's what he's seeing. So if he turns his head to the left, it'll actually turn to the left in the VR goggles. It's a good way for him to be able to get that spatial awareness. It's one of the funnest ways, I think, to do sim racing, and Martin's a fan of it because he did it all Cup Series, and it looks like he's sticking with the goggles for this Winter Series.
It's interesting, though, Evan. I haven't heard of too many World Championship level drivers who have taken to the VR and really utilized it in that level of competition. But the one thing that you'll notice right there on the shot is the left foot covering the brake pedal at all times, ready for the unexpected here at a super speedway. And Mara's happy to run around at the back right now, but Again, very similar to a few of the other drivers we've been mentioning, Evan. Clean car, and that's going to be the more important thing. You'll notice the 52 right there. That's John Fowler. A little bit of damage to the rear end. That's not going to help him. It's already 2 laps down, of course, but Mara doing some smart things further back in this pack.
Yeah, that's a lot of discipline, right? I mean,
we just had a car spin.
There, and yeah, you can see that's Kalis down and on pit road, and the 86 car is around as well. So that was an issue with Dominic Howe. It was near pit entry. They were 3 wide with some lap traffic, and that was the second pack where that happened. Howe spun, and then Kayla spun in a totally separate incident when they checked up right near Winfield. So there's been a lot of that checking up. Look at these teammates, though, on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, and see the contact here with the 46 of Cruz. He gets a little bit of a shove from behind that sends him down the racetrack. And not much that Howe can do. He does a good job of keeping it out of the inside wall for the most part, Evan. And there you can see the 43 spinning in sympathy there. But fortunately, we stay green.
There was only 2 cars involved in that incident primarily. We did have another car through the grass. That was John Rodden. That was more so just to avoid the incident. If the incident that does not trigger an automatic yellow in the sim involves at least 3 cars, race control will throw them. Only 2 cars involved in that one. So we stay green, and here we're going to have to go 3 wide again. More lap traffic up the road. This time, it's the number 3 of Braxton DeWeese who's going to drop down. He'll now find himself first car, 1 lap down. See the damage on that 3 as he drops back.
And we haven't really talked about it just yet, Evan, but I mean, it's a super speedway. We've got to bring up the possibility of a green and white checkered to this one. Doesn't usually tend to end under green the first time around, and I'm not expecting it to be any different here. The question is, when will we get the big one, and does it come late in the race? And how many cars are going to be in that green and white checkered with minimal damage?
It was Nick Hulslander who won the season opener here at Daytona last winter series on a green-white checkered finish. So never say never. We have 3 of them available in the back pocket if necessary. A couple of drivers dropping out of this race as well. It looks like the night is done for Steve Durham. The night is also done for Mariusz Leszczynski. And that is picked up 2 spots for the damaged Steve Soa, who's still on track. Also, Nick Mara has dropped out of the session. He's loading back in to get back on track, so that's more issues for him. So kind of a buggy start to the new season. A lot of drivers trying to get things situated and, T's, crossed and I's dotted, if you will. And like I said, that's the kind of the one thing you don't want, right, in the season opener. If you get wrecked, it's Daytona, but you don't want it to be something like that takes you out. So a lot of frustrated drivers towards the back early. Meanwhile, up front, these guys have been pretty good side by side throughout. I see that 7 cars up top and 6 on the bottom right now, and that little bit of a breakaway. So the cars up front, at least, are very disciplined.
A little scary, if I may add.
We see you there.
I'm just dropping back a few car lengths between everybody because both incidents have happened right in front of me within the top 14 or so. So I'm just keeping my cool, having my foot on the brake as well, just in case. But I've got, Washington behind me, and he likes to be aggressive sometimes. So, oops.
Yeah, that's where calling the Cup Series races comes in handy, is you know the guys who might not be as keen to giving you a break per se. So we see the gap from you up the road. Next car in front would be Michael Araya running in 13th, and then you got 12th on back. But look at the 7 car up at the front. Kyle Trudell going to get squeezed out 3 wide, and nobody seemed wanting to give him a break, so they're all going to go 2 wide, and Trudell going to lose a ton of spots here.
Well, they are coming up on some lap traffic, and that includes our 3-time Cup champion, Andrew Farinaj, and that's going to be interesting. You talk about damage, Evan. Farinaj has a lot of damage to his car. They're in a small queue of about 3 cars, and these leaders have started to get a bit more aggressive. We've seen 3 wide on occasion now, and they're starting to get a bit more feisty, and like Dylan was saying, foot on the brake. Don't be surprised if something happens out front.
Farinaj was 3rd in the season opener last year, a championship that he went on to win by a stunning margin at the end of the year of 147 points. A far cry from his previous Winter Series championship that was won just by 2 in a battle that came down to the season finale where he squeaked it out over top of Jeff Ward. But heavy damage in this opener. He has no back bumper on his 88 Chevrolet. These leaders are going to catch him. They are running about a second or 2 seconds faster per lap than that trio that he's in. So expect him to get lapped here very shortly, and that could make a championship battle for the 88 a little bit more difficult, knowing that he's going to be starting from such a disadvantage.
And the speed difference between these two packs is almost 13 miles an hour. So when these leaders come blowing on past, it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to go. Are they going to go up to the high line? Are they going to duck below the double yellows? Freenage is already committing to the high line, as are the 2 cars in front. This is going to be interesting, Evan.
Well, they're going to go to the outside, a little bit tricky as the 3 wide's going to happen. I thought maybe in the trial over there, short shoot might be the best place for it to happen. So the first 3-4 cars going to be through. We are going to squeeze now 3 wide with that number 30 machine of Kaczynski and the 19 of Stanford also holding on the outside. Looks like those lead cars safely get on by.
Small complaint up here in the commentary booth, by the way. We've got 2 number 30 machines. You got the Kaczynski one, which is actually stamped as a number 30 in sim, but out front, Matt Danson running in the 05 in sim has put the number 30 on his cars, making it a bit confusing out front. But Danson, side by side once again. Let's see if he's going to lead across the line this time, Evan.
Well, that'll be at least a 1-point penalty for not having the right number on the car, and hopefully that's fixed for next time out. Like I said, first race of the season, a lot of guys trying to get things situated. As he'll go for the lead, though. He doesn't care what number's on the side of the car. New race leader once more, Matt Danson. He's had a couple of different opportunities to lead this race after he started from 4th on the grid, but he doesn't want to stay down there. He'll go to the outside. Jeremy Miller doesn't want to work. Valderrama does. In the 27 now, the lame duck.
3 wide out front for a second. There was an issue further back. Lucky not to be under caution. These guys are really fighting hard right now, Evan. We're only lap 28 out of 100. This is very interesting that some of these guys are pushing it so hard so early.
It was Anthony Fredericks who was in the grass last time through the front straightaway. He just got a little bit out of line with the car that he was drafted with and took a trip straight through. He was the only car. It never spun, but it was a close call. We're fine. And now past 1/4 distance in this IWRAPS 250. So 1 yellow in the opening bit of this race. A bit of chaos afterwards, but great stuff up front. As the 46 Sedan Cruz now going to try to hold off a charge, but a big push by Valderrama. He'll shove the 30 back to the race lead. The 05 at Danson, whatever number he wants to go by tonight. So Danson back in control. Valderrama, though, not going to get a chance to lead the outside because here comes Cruz. He'll pull right back up in front.
They're getting a bit more aggressive in terms of the moves. You saw Cruz there slinging his way to the outside, getting the pushing out from Valderrama in towards turn number 1. It seems like for some reason, Evan, a switch has been flipped and some of these drivers want to get out front right now. Cruz getting a nice push from Valderrama, who's searching for some clean air as well. But we're too wide, about 20, not 20 rows deep, about 15 rows deep, I'd say.
I think Valderrama's really aggressive. I mean, look at him pushing on the back of the 46 Sedan Cruz here. He is really giving it to him, and they're going to touch. Valderrama comes down into Danson. Sideways in the corner. Do they save it? No. Danson spins. Caution for the second time tonight.
Great onboard look there with Dylan Coyle, who had to avoid some of the carnage as it unfolded in front of him. But I was just saying that, Evan, they were getting a bit more aggressive, and we'll take a look at the replay right now.
And I was about to say, I think Valderrama was pushing so hard because he pushed the last 3 guys, right? He needed some clean air, and you can see there he was really trying to push the 46 clear because I think he wanted to lead the outside to get some air, right? So instead of saying, I'll take it easy for 5 laps pushing, I just want to get it done with so I can get the clean air. And unfortunately, when the 46 started to pull down, he just kind of followed him down the hill, taking down into the number 30 machine, and it all pops off from there. You'll see it right here. The 46 is clear. He's going to come down. Valderrama's not, and I don't think he really thought he was. He was just following the car in front as you would push and inadvertently walk down into the bottom.
Yeah, and look at Danson getting collected from behind as well. That 24 machine, nowhere to go. And, well, this is an interesting one now, Evan. Lots of drivers haven't pitted yet, and we'll see them coming down pit road. And you mentioned it off the last caution, only 3 tire sets available in this one. And while tires might not be as crucial here at a super speedway as they will at some of the shorter tracks we'll go to, tire strategy still very important.
And it's a pretty good number, right? We're just shy of 1/3 distance. So if you come in and pit now, you're not going to be able to go to the end of the race. Remember, we saw a lot of drivers on that first yellow top off. They were hoping this race, I think, would go green so they could pit at around lap 55 or 60 and maybe get it on one stop. It's an easy decision now. Everybody going to come down as your race leader, Dane Cruz, totally missed his pit stalling. He's in the fence. There's another car backing up on pit road who missed his box. So there's a lot of drivers tricky into the pit stalls, including the leader. There's another car backing up, the number 48 machine. And in a wild race off pit road, first car off is going to be Kyle Trudell.
Very interesting there on pit road, Evan. A few cars having issues, and that's going to shake up the order a little bit. We'll walk everyone through the order once everyone's made their way off pit road, but it's so easy to make that mistake coming into your box. And unfortunately for Dane Cruz, that left front corner of the car now going to have a little bit of damage as he comes out of pit lane.
There's a couple of factors, I think, in why those drivers may have been making mistakes. Obviously, you're looking around and paying attention to not get into somebody else, but also you cannot drive through more than 3 pit stalls to get into your box, right? So it does have to be a little bit of a tighter turn. Maybe drivers not so sure on the braking point. And kind of an even sillier one is, we talked about the different paint schemes, Virginia. If your pit box looks different, if your pit stall sign looks different, you might just not realize it's yours, right? I mean, those little things that seem so basic can catch you off guard, especially in a season opener.
Well, I've made that mistake, not in a oval race here, but in the Daytona 24 this very year. I was leading the race after 1 hour, coming down onto pit road, didn't realize my pit box was right at the start of pit road. So I went halfway down, realized something was up, had to reset all the way back to my pit road, lost the lead, and, well, I'll never forget that mistake, Evan, and I'm sure there are lots of drivers who have done similar things before. It happens, but you learn from your mistakes, and Cruz will be hoping that the damage isn't too bad, and he can fight his way back out to the front.
And I also totally missed my pit box, but it was in a little bit of a different 24-hour race. It was a charity race, 24 hours in MX-5s at Martinsville. But I think my team did about 3,400 laps. I had a very good first stint, and I don't know why I thought that our pit box was at the second half of pit road, but it was not. I didn't even try to get into the pit box, just drove straight past it, ran out of fuel on the back straightaway, trying to come back around. So I can't beat up on somebody for doing it because I think we've all been there. Also, just wanted to mention Brian Chambliss, I think, initially did stay out, but has since come down to pit road. So everybody on the pit lane, John Ellenberg, now being shown as your race leader. He was on pit road, and he did 4 tires. So it was a good set of service for the 13 machine. It'll put him in second and Trudell as the leader.
Yeah, I think Chambliss might have missed his box. I'm seeing a few drivers who came down the pit lane and didn't necessarily serve too much time in the pit stall. One driver
who pulled a me is what you're saying.
He's pulled a many of us is what I'm trying to say. One driver, though, I think did stay out. Eric Stanford. I'm showing 26 laps on this stint. Watch out for him, Evan, further back in the pack.
He's 25th right now, so trying to make some moves up, and in fact, he's going to go even further towards the back of the pack as this race gets set for a restart. Green flag flies. We're back underway. It's a restart with lap number 33 in the books. We're 1/3 of the way in the IWRAPS 250. There's a move to the outside there for the 09 machine of Stephen Aboge, who now comes back down. The double O going to be his pusher. That's Garrett Hess. But the inside, so much stronger this restart. They've got a big advantage down low.
Yeah, outside starting to get formed up right now. The 51, Bobby Krug, has made his way up from 30th when we last checked in with him. Currently runs in 10th position, trying to form up on the outside, but the inside, Evan, a whole heap of momentum, and there you can see already about 7 or 8 car lengths, but the difference between the inside and the outside lane.
We didn't see this on the first start of the race. We didn't see it on the restart off of the first yellow, that the inside really had a big advantage. And it's not just those lead cars. Everybody pretty strung out off of this attempt at a restart. The top 4 in the single file out on the bottom as Aboge's trying to get up on the outside of Jared Winemaster, who I believe was one of the cars who had an issue on the pit lane. I thought I saw the 48 going backwards, and it was, but he opted to still take his 4 tires. So it just goes to show you that even a car who messed up on pit road, running P6 right now, means that it was a really sloppy cycle.
Yeah, a lot of drivers having issues, and I think that's extended to this restart as well. Maybe just a little bit of fatigue setting in for some of these drivers, but the outside getting formed up right now. The 09, Stefan Abwagi, according to our YouTube chat, Evan, so that's a correction on the pronunciation, but you see that 09 getting close now to first position once again, and that outside line, about 6 cars getting formed up.
I'll tell you what, guys, I'd rather be the guy who's right alongside Eberhardt, or right behind Eberhardt, than the guy alongside him. He pinches.
Well, you had that experience in practice, too, with him on your bumper, right? So he's on your outside right now. We're taking a look as you guys fight side by side, just on the tip of the top 10, 10th and 11th side by side at the moment. And I don't know if Eberhardt wants to get a third lane going or if he's just afraid of you, because he was way up on the outside wall that time and is again. You're just trying to feel things out, but that spread out nature that we saw early has kind of faded back away. The outside's come back into some strength, and now going for the race lead for the 09 machine on the outside of the racetrack is Stephen Awagi. So he is on the move, and the double O really working hard.
And he's up 34 positions, 35 once he gets his nose in front of Carl Trudell. So a really strong drive from the 09 up towards the front of the field. Some other strong drives in the top 10. Michael Lariah up 16 positions. Brandon Key behind him, 22 positions. Another driver up a lot of positions. Shane Parrish in the 81 car, up 35, running in 8th place right now.
Side by side in a battle for the race lead. We work lap number 38 of 100 from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Let's take in the sights and sounds of Daytona and go RaceSpot Fan Immersion. I don't know if the onboards gave you the best look there, but there is a lot going on at the front of the field as far as drivers moving up and down, side to side. And Dylan, you mentioned it. It's a little bit scary out there as you ride. Looks like about P16 right now.
Yeah. As you see the 22 just come right up in front. I am managing the throttle like crazy right now. This is a lot for this point of the race. Gonna try and go back down inside, but yeah, it's a little scary right now. I know I've used that word, but that's Daytona for you.
Look at the hornet's nest of cars in front of you as well right now, Dylan. They're looking to peek their nose 3 wide out front. Are you feeling a little bit scared right now? You want to drop back a little bit, protect your car?
Where do you think I am on the track? yeah, quite a little bit, if I'm being honest. It's a lot of movement happening right in front of me, and I'm more than happy to just kind of stick back where I am right now and see where that takes me.
Well, we'll let you get back to it as we continue to enjoy the show. And there's your onboard look on the right-hand side. We can see the 34 Liam Sheed up the road from you and some of these other drivers. I mean, up front, a lot of pinching, a lot of pushing. Daniel Eberhardt was just battling at around that P10 spot, but Dylan now is pushing in a fight for the race lead. He'll slice to the bottom. He pushed Garrett Hess to the point, and now it's the 90 car of Eberhardt pushing, creating a gap. Does he look for the race lead for the first time tonight?
And he's one of those drivers starting to look quite aggressive. He had a very impressive running in the Cup Series, looking to build on that momentum and try and work towards a championship fight next year. But you see more touching further back as well. The number 8 getting a bit loose. That is not what you want to see, but looking quite fun right now, Evan.
Two-time race winner from this championship last year. That was second only to, of course, Andrew Friedrich, who won 7 of them on his trip to a championship. Those race wins for Daniel Eberhardt last year came at Fontana and at Talladega. So it goes to show that he does have that super speedway racing prowess, and some drivers may feel like being conservative, not making enemies, and being calm is the way to get through a plate race. Neither of those accurately describe how Daniel Eberhardt runs, and he's multiple times a winner on the plate track. So his style of driving works, but they are being attacked right now. Oh, the 09 car into the wall. He'll come back down. He'll tag Miller back up the hill into Eberhardt, and it is a huge mess in turn 4.
It's the big one. Literally everybody has gotten collected in that one. I don't think anyone has gotten through that one cleanly. We'll take a look at the IWRAPS replay, but there you can see the very tail end of the initial contact, and there you can see Eberhardt gets sent up into the wall and just, well, nowhere to go for many of these cars.
And it was everybody. I talked about the big push. It was the 27 of Jeremy Miller, who was trying to help out the 09 machine to get on through. And check this out from behind the wreck. Everybody stack it up. You got Valderrama slow, and he gets involved in a little bit of damage. There's Casto out and in the grass. The 30 of, or I guess it's actually the 05 who keeps getting us. Matt Danson, who's just going to park it on the inside of the racetrack. You questioned not if, but when it was going to happen. And the big one comes just shy of halfway.
Yeah, and let's see how many... Let's see the extent of the damage. We'll take another look from the aerial look. Look at the 27 just getting shoved up into Eberhardt. Eberhardt may have gotten fairly lucky there and escaped with minimal damage. You'll see there Kyle Kamer through the grass going wildly. Actually, there you can see Eberhardt in the background of your shot. So more contact for Eberhardt as well. Lots of cars, I think, with lots of damage there, Evan.
It is the way plate racing is. Just a little bit of a slide right there. I thought he was just going to be in the wall, but it's when he bounces back down that he takes everybody else. Kamer almost through. He gets wiped out. And I think the only car that gets through up front, at least, was the 11 of Brandon Key. He wasn't off scot-free, but you can see there's his orange car getting through it all. And now cars will head to pit road. This time, I think the majority is for damage repair. Still outside of the fuel window to get to the end. There's a lot of torn up virtual sheet metal that's getting worked on. A demo derby to start the year.
Yeah, I'm trying to take a look through the field and see who hasn't gotten some type of damage from that incident. Ellenberger in the 13 might have been one of the lucky ones. He's gotten through that fairly scot-free. A little bit of damage. You can see him rolling off at the front. Everyone else parked on pit road for damage repairs. There's a few more cars head off the lane.
A lot of team cars. Garrett Hess down with Dominic Howe and Liam Sheen. So that trio is down pit road for repairs as well. You can see the 00 getting back up and onto the racetrack right now behind Chambliss, David Washington, and my timing showing that your current race leader is Bobby Krug. We checked in with his onboard a little bit ago, and he was way off at the back, right? Running 30th when we checked in, but he was picking up some spots. He is now your race leader at lap 46.
I'm going to go back and try and take a look at that incident on board with the number 51, because there you can see a great shot. Car looking not factory fresh. It's got the look of some marbles and whatnot, Evan, but I mean, considering what we just saw, both him and Gary Weaver right behind have pretty much a clean car, and in terms of an incident that big, they've gotten through that as well as they could have hoped for. So the 51 and the 99 looking very good right now.
My only damage was 24 seconds of optional repairs. Happened right in front, and I had to push the brakes down. Thankfully, not too much damage, so we'll see how it runs.
That's what it comes down to, because it's funny. You know, we talk about these plate races as the lights are out on top of the base car. It also looks like that nobody has claimed responsibility for the incident, so that one will come down to a post-race review. But it's funny, we talk about how this is a race where you need the most aerodynamically clean car, right? I mean, it hurts a lot to be torn up, but also the draft makes it so it's not the end-all, be-all. If I'm somebody like that car inside of row number 2, I think that's the 04 of Anthony Fredericks. My primary concern is the front-end damage, right? Because we talked about temps a lot, and it hasn't been that hot of a race. We've seen a lot of cloud cover. So track temp right now only 84 degrees. It's only 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the sim. Temps aren't that crazy, but front-end damage is always so tricky, Arjuna, because you can't really tell if it's going to, cause your temps to get up there, and all of a sudden the dash could be blinking red and the engine could pop in, 5 seconds. So that would be the concern, I think, for the cars with front-end damage, and even your race leader not exempt from that. You can see the front-end damage on Krug there, who had a hand in all that happened on the back.
Yeah, and it's something that, like you say, can just go at the flick of a switch. So something a lot of these drivers will be concerned with. But we've just been scrubbing through the replay in our production booth, and well, what we've noticed is that Bobby Krug is being blessed by technical issues. If he hadn't had a brief lag out there, Evan, Krug would have some damage. He would have been collected in that incident. But as a result, he's going to be taking us to the green flag with almost a pristine car.
Same can't be said for others. Jeremy Miller claims responsibility for the incident. No EOL for him because he is on pit road. No front or rear end of that race car. Let's go. Green flag racing once more. 53 laps to go. A huge slice to the inside by Gary Weaver. You're on board with your race leader.
Clean track for the race leader. The outside starting to get formed up further behind him. 4 cars now darting into the outside lane. They'll try and form up and push their way to the front, but you can see the focus on Krug. He's out to the front. The first time we checked in on him, riding back in 30th place at almost half distance now. Krug's decided to head to the point of the field.
Looks like the 13 going to get squeezed out here, so Ellenberg pushed up to the outside with Chambliss squeezing down to his bottom. Now on board with the pusher. Gary Weaver started and qualified 41st in this field of 43. He's fighting for the race lead, and we're only even halfway done.
Yeah, if he can get out front, he'll be up an incredible 40 spots. You can see they're very calm, very focused, and doing exactly what he needs to do. Just trying to stay clean and calm, and right now a little bit of an issue there, I think, on the technical side.
You can see that he's you can tell that he's having some issues. He does not, and you can tell. See, so Gary Weaver's having some sort of a connection problem. We just lost him in the sim, and you can see that clearly he lost it on his end too. So we just talked about how Gary Weaver had made an incredible drive from 41st, and just like that, it's gone.
Like I said, flip of a switch, everything can change, and you could see the frustration starting to build as he realized something was wrong. I could notice on my timing screen that he wasn't showing up. He saw it on the stream as well, and well, Evan, I don't know what happened there, but I have a feeling that he just realized that his connection was starting to die. The iRacing service already booted him off, and it was probably just a few moments away from us losing his camera feed as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that tonight with several drivers throughout the field having those issues. Weaver still not back on track, so even if he can get loaded back in, it's going to be several laps down. And we always say that's kind of the sim racing version of a flat tire or a part breaking or some sort of a random mechanical gremlin, is those connection gremlins, the hardware gremlins. If a monitor goes out, if your wheel disconnects, that's our sim version of those unpredictability parts of real life racing. This time by, though, going to be 50 laps down, 50 laps to go from Daytona. Let's take a look through the field with a look at our IWRAPS Midway race break. David Washington, race leader that time by. Bobby Krug scored in second. Dominic Cow, Garrett Hess, Jared Winemaster, your top five, with John Ellenberg, Brian Chambliss, Trevin Valderrama, Anthony Fredericks, and Brandon Key, top 10. You can see it shuffles. Key get a drop to 11th. You got Trudell further back. George, Burgee, and Coyle the top 15 with Liam Sheen, Ross Cato, Matt Danson, Devin Winfield, and Eric Stanford your top 20, along with Stephen Aboge in 21st, James Ross 22nd, Shane Parrish 23rd, Stephen Price, Matt Mara through the top 25 with John Rodden, Michael Araya, and Dane Cruz, the 28 cars on the lead lap. You got a trio a lap down. That's going to be Daniel Eberhardt, Sean Kalis, and Braxton DeWeese, 29th through 31st. 2 laps down for Tom Morano, John Fowler, and now Gary Weaver, 32nd through 34th. Jeremy Miller out of this race. So is Kyle Kamer. So is Daniel Eberhardt, 35th on the back, including Nick Barra, Nick Silver, Joseph Tice, Steve Soa, Marius Lashinsky, Steve Durham, and of course Sam Nieto, who failed to qualify. So we already have nearly a half a dozen cars out of this race. That was a look top to bottom at your IWRAPS Midway race breaks. IWRAPS is changing how you find virtual wraps for iRacing. Starting this Friday, visit iWraps.shop and enter code RSRWinter20 to receive 20% off your first order. Through their new website, you can select a pre-designed paint scheme template to purchase and customize by changing the colors, the sponsors, and more, all to your liking. Again, that's code RSRWinter20 at iWraps.shop. Proud title sponsor of the 2020 RealSimRacing IWRAPS Winter Series.
And thanks to IWRAPS, we're able to have this entire Winter Series broadcasted. But not just that, Evan. We're out here racing for a little bit of competition, but also for a good cause. And, you know, that's something that maybe you can talk a little bit about. It's good to be able to support some of the local community as well.
Yeah, so last year this Winter Series was in support of the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, and we'd raised awareness on the broadcast. A couple of drivers at their discretion made some donations, and that was really fun. But thanks to our friends at IWRAPS for covering the fees it takes to get this series on the air, to get this series up and running. Instead of charging drivers their typical entry fee paid to RealSimRacing, we are able to direct all those funds to 3 Square Food Bank. So based on either a $5 registration fee if you raced in the Cup Series, or a $10 registration fee if you were not in the Cup Series, instead of paying it to RSR, it went to 3 Square Food Bank. I think combined now the number is more than $400 has been raised by the drivers, which means that more than 1,100 meals have been successfully donated to families struggling. That's especially important this time of the year and this year, right? Of course, with the holidays coming up. On top of that, of course, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So more than 1,000 meals provided by the drivers in the field. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. And part of that as well is we get to have some fun at the end of the broadcast up here in the commentary booth as well, Evan, because there's another award that we're going to give out, not just the race win, but a underdog of the race award presented by Extreme Performance Motorsports. You and I will get to pick that come the end of the race, working lap 56 out of 100. And there's a few interesting names here that we can take a look at. And, you know, someone like David Washington has moved his way to the front, might be one of the drivers in contention for that award.
Yeah, that's totally up to our discretion, right? We can look at a guy who started at the back and drove to the front. We can look at a guy that started up front and fell back and came back. A car that came through a wreck and made it back. So we get to kind of keep an eye on all these guys as the race goes on. And thanks to our friends at Extreme Performance Motorsports, that driver's going to get a $5 bonus at the end of the night. They're also going to give $5 to 3 Square Food Bank. So that's going to happen every race this season. By the end of the year, they'll donate $50 more to that charity fund, which means another 150 meals will be provided to families in need. So we'll give a shout out to XPM and all the Extreme Performance Motorsports cars in the field here. One thing that we really didn't have in this series last year was a really intriguing team championship. Of course, it's only the individual title that pays out as some lap traffic and a fallback 3 wide, but it looks like we'll be okay for the time being. But bragging rights wise, you're allowed to do good in the team points. For the last couple of years, we've had, you know, the Steel Horses and the Aegises, those drivers and those teams, kind of the big two. But we saw a lot of big new teams come into the fray for the Cup Series, even more so for this Winter Series. So that's going to be fun as well to keep an eye on as this year works on.
Yeah, very much so. And a lot of interest, I think, here. Can anyone stop Andrew Farinaj from taking another RSR title, this time in the Winter Series, passing more lap traffic out front as they're still too wide. Throughout this main pack of cars, there you can see a good shot of some cars ducking below the double yellow lines, but 26 cars still on the lead lap, and out of them, the top 20 still in this lead pack. So there's a lot of contenders still here, a long way still to go.
And I think the reason why these drivers have calmed down, at least a little bit compared to what we saw on that previous run, right, where we had the big wreck and drivers were kind of going all over the place, it seems, was that they still are not within, you know, the final run to the end of this race. There's 41 laps to go. They've been out there for 13 laps since the last restart. I do not think that's enough fuel to go the distance. So because of that, what's the point taking the car out now when you're going to get through a pit cycle, right? We haven't seen a green flag cycle of pit stops tonight. All the service thus far has happened under the caution flag with 3 yellows in the books, 1 at lap 7, 1 at lap 30, and 1 at lap number 44. So maybe that's a reason why the drivers are taking it easy, because they know, hey, half the field's torn up. In some sense, I still need to get to at least my final pit stop before I start putting stuff on the line.
Speeds have also dropped off just a little bit, Evan. We're just peaking over 300 kph in this lead pack right now. Slightly earlier, speeds in excess of 310, maybe even 315 kph. So we've dropped off just a little bit. I think the number of cars in this lead pack has dropped off a little bit. That's contributed. The damage to all of the cars has contributed as well, but you can see them getting a little bit feisty. They're looking to try and make it 3 wide potentially here. That 51 trying to get pushed back to the front.
Doing his best, leading the outside charge. His pusher is the 00 of Garrett Hess, but I wonder if Hess is going to try to use that 51 to get to his teammate, right? And Dominic Howe, you can see those team cars on the bottom. Then they've got even, you know, more support down the road with Liam Sheen and Joe Burgee as well. So there's at least 4 of those team cars in the top 15. If they can get hooked up, be a big improvement. We've seen team cars near each other in this race. We really haven't seen a group of 3 or 4 work directly together. They just haven't been able to get together. If you can even get just 2 of them, lead the inside, lead the outside, you can basically control this race. And if you play your cards right, set yourself up for a really good opportunity at one of those team cars going to victory lane.
And while the Cup Series has obviously the playoff system, Evan, which makes wins so important to be there at the end, in this 10-race championship, no playoffs to speak of. And a win here at Daytona is very much going to set you on the right track for the rest of the season in terms of your momentum. Next time out, we're going to head to Richmond, so a very, very different track to what we're seeing right now. And after that, we go to Michigan, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. These are all different types of things that the drivers are going to have to adapt to. So Daytona is not, I'm not trying to say it's easy, but it's a much more of a known quantity, right? Drivers know roughly what to expect. And the next few tracks are going to be a bit more of a shakeup. So I think an opportunity here for some of these drivers that have kept their cars a little bit cleaner, like Bobby Krug, who we're seeing on track right now, to try and make the most of this opportunity.
Well, let's be honest, I think a big change as well when you compare to the Cup Series is the car, right? A lot of drivers prefer how this Xfinity Series car drives than they do to the Cup car. It's not a big difference here at Daytona. Not really going to be a huge difference admittedly at a place like Richmond, especially on the road courses. When we get to the big tracks, the Michigans, the Las Vegas at the end of the year, even maybe in New Hampshire to a certain extent, you are going to have a bit more of a responsive car with the way that the horsepower and downforce marriage is on this car compared to that of the Cup Series cars. So that's why a lot of drivers only run the Winter Series. They prefer these Xfinity Series cars. I'm sure there is a portion of the field who finds these more difficult, right, than the Cup cars. So maybe they're not as excited to be in these as they were in the Cup cars for 30 weeks this year. But different tracks, different cars, all of that comes together. I think makes a convincing case that somebody has an opportunity to challenge Andrew Fridage's title. If you look at the main series in RSR, right, so that excludes the IWRAPS series and it excludes the Truck Series. Of the big two, which is the Cup Series and the Winter Series, he has won the last 5 in a row. 3 straight Cup titles, 2 straight Winter titles. Currently running 27th in the field. It's not awful. He's still a lap down, but he is the lucky dog as we look now. If he doesn't get his lead lap back and finishes P27, is he going to be out of the championship conversation? No. Mentioned that last year he won it by well more than 100 points to the battle back to second. P2 on back was great. It was kind of like Formula 1.5 back there. A lot of close cars, but the leader was way down the road. Not to say that this takes Andrew out of it, but I think it makes a convincing case that these drivers just might think themselves that they have a look, and a lot of time having that kind of motivation, I think, goes a long way.
It just opens the door, that slight bit. It sets off the season for the AA in the worst way possible. He's riding around in that lucky dog spot, not where he's going to want to be. However, he mentioned something slightly earlier about the car in particular, Evan. I think this is actually something that across all of the tracks, it's not just something that at somewhere like Michigan they're going to have to deal with, but this car is going to drive very differently on the road courses to what the Cup car did. And we did see a few drivers last season in the Cup car struggling a little bit more. I'm thinking specifically of that Daytona road course. So add a bit more power, take out a little bit more downforce, and put this at any track. Think of a short track as well. It's going to be that much more of a challenge. And let's see how it's going to affect all of these cars. You see outside line now, some traffic's going to be a factor. The 46 tucked down. Oh, this is going to be a big one again, Evan.
Hess is going to spin. He nearly goes up and over. And a caution again on the back straightaway. Big issues trying to work around traffic. And I don't know what happened with the 46. You shouted it out. That's the car that was really in the middle of the road for Dane Cruz. They were single file up top, but it was lapped cars catching lapped cars. He pulled down there, you saw, to pass a slower lap car right in front of the leaders.
Yeah, well, the issue in this case, at least for me here, Evan, is the 46 is already 2 laps down. So, yes, I understand that Eberhardt is 19 laps down, has a bit more damage, but that was only going to end one way, unfortunately. We take an onboard look with RaceSpot's own Dylan Coyle here and watch as the drama unfolds. Lap traffic is always a difficult thing, but once you're 2 laps down, I think there's an added responsibility to make sure you don't interfere with the lead car battles. And there you can see, unfortunately for Dylan, slight contact there with a few extra cars.
I think it could have been worse. Dylan, what'd you see?
Yeah, if you've ever done any of those challenges in old NASCAR games growing up, there's a situation right off of turn 2 in every game where something like this happens and you have to try and avoid it. And the problem every single time is dealing with the cars that you don't see until they're too late coming down. So tried to go down low, didn't work for me. And, you know, I don't think we have too much damage right here. So we'll try to get this fixed however long it takes, and we'll see what happens.
Front-end damage is going to be what that team's looking at, so he'll be down pit road. However, I think the big reason why this stint had started a little bit calmer on Junior was that they couldn't make it to the end. Well, now they can. 33 laps to go. Everybody dive into pit road because they should get enough Sudoku fuel now to go the distance.
And it's on that bubble, Evan, because we talked about the green-white checkered. If we get 3 of them, I think some of these cars are going to be spluttering just a little bit coming to the checkered flag. So race off pit road looks like is that the 34 that's won the race off pit road? So Liam Sheen out to the front now.
He is first car off, and that was courtesy of an 8.5-second fuel-only stop. He took no tires. He has some back-end damage, so that could present an issue. Check out the back end when he rounds the corner here in turn 2, and we get a look at it. I've always said that back-end damage is better than front, but that is going to be really difficult for the car behind him to push him.
Yeah, let's see. This is interesting. So many cars have damage out front, Evan. There you see Eberhardt with even more damage now to the front clip of his car that he had before. Another driver who had a strong showing in the Cup season, struggling here in the season opener for our winter series. But the top 5, Sheen, Washington, Dominic Howe, Yaron Weinmaster, and Brandon Key. So we've got a few new names now out front. This is going to be interesting.
A lot of drivers as well need to get themselves situated with penalties being cleared and whatnot because of all the damaged cars that were being told to be in front of them on the trip down to pit road. And a lot of drivers obviously committing to qualifying and to getting up there, you know, into pit road and getting a good position. So there's a lot of drivers that are all shuffled up and out of whack. Lights out on top of the pace car. We will try it again with a restart for 31 laps to go. I think officially now in the home stretch. So does it just stay crazy? It has been a messy start thus far. It looks like nobody claimed the last yellow, so that one is going to go to a post-race review. That's 4 cautions so far. I guess it's not that bad, although last year's season opener comparatively only 2 yellows. So a bit more torn up virtual sheet metal this trip around.
And take a look on the left-hand side of the screen, Evan. Look at some of those movers and shakers. You've got the likes of Winfield back in 7th place, up 33 spots. And, well, there's a lot of movement upwards in the top 10 there. I think that talks about the story of the race so far. We've had 4 cautions so far. And with, 32 laps to go? We might have a few more to finish this one off.
It's a heavily damaged entry for Winfield, you mentioned. Just taking a look at our leaders. Sheen looks good. So does Washington. You know, with the exception of the back of Sheen. A little bit of damage on Howe. Brandon Key a little bit. Winemaster's okay. Kia a little bit damaged. Same with Fredericks. And Winfield's car is heavily damaged. So he'll be on the inside of row number 4, starting in 7th. I'm curious if that cat number 45 Chevy can do much on this restart with the damage. Again, is the damage ideal? No. Would you like a perfect race car? Yes, you're going to be able to do a lot more with it, but is damage going to absolutely take you out of this race unless it's really, really severe? No, it will not. Pace car off and away. Another restart. 31 laps left to go from Daytona.
Front of the queue getting single file for the most part, but they're still too wide. For about 9th on back. Bobby Krug on the inside trying to work his way back out to the front. David Washington on the outside takes a peek, but as we head down through turn number 2, the top 8 or 9 cars single filed.
The single file down on the inside. The outside is virtually non-existent at this point. Only Washington up there. We saw this last time, though. It's going to take a lap or 2 for the other drivers to pick it up and then look it back into the mix. And here they go. Bobby Krug had a connection issue. He dropped back earlier. He's now back into the conversation, pushed by Chambliss and Trudell. And just like that, now you got to pack the floor.
Yeah, that outside starting to build up the momentum. The number 4 car as well, Joe Berge poking his nose to the outside, trying to get in. to try and push that queue to the front. And here comes David Washington, building up a lot of momentum as they enter the corner for the first time, but still a lot more cars focusing on the inside.
And some drama at the front of the field as well for Jaron Weinmaster, the 48 car, who is third in line on the bottom right now, changed lanes before the start-finish line. That is a restart violation, and that is a black flag, a drive-through penalty to be served under green. So the 48 machine going to give it a lap, I think, but he only has 3 laps to serve that black flag, or he will not be scored anymore. I think we talked about drivers getting adjusted, and one of the new things you need to make sure you do as a rookie, make sure you're up on all the rules.
Yeah, it's something we've seen across a number of series here live on RaceSpotTV. Talking of someone who's going to benefit here, though, Andrew Farinaj still got a lot of damage to the 88 machine, but he's got the lead lap back now, Evan, and well, expect the unexpected. We could have a late race caution, something that brings that number 88 back into the mix. And, well, we've seen damaged cars take the win at super speedways in the real world. Could we see something similar in the virtual world?
I mean, we've really seen some damaged cars win races. Eric Jones, of course, most recently in a season opener race last year here at Daytona. And there is, by the way, the trip to pit road for the 88 of Jaron Weinmaster. So he's into the box. He makes his stop, and now he will be good to go and to get back out on track once that penalty is served. So he'll sit down there, get that penalty out of the way. The race leaders continue on. So his objective, getting back on track, staying on the lead lap, and it obviously, I think it needed a relatively quick yellow flag if he is going to get back to the lead lap, because it's not going to be good with the draft on his own. So his concern is getting back on track, which he's doing now, but he will not maintain the lead lap. So he'll join Danson and Kalist as a trio of lap down cars.
And take a look at this, though, Evan. The front pack of cars, the top 12, have now started to break away. The gap between 12th and 13th place, about 2 seconds, so starting to lose that draft range. But interestingly, that inside is where the strong runs are coming from. The outside not really formed up, only 3 or 4 cars really taking a look there right now as we work lap number 74. The inside line very much stronger.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I mean, you have the 88 of David Washington, pretty comfortable right now, leading this race. He's pushed by Sheen, who's pushed by his teammate in Howe. So we kind of speculated, would those guys get together, and they did. Then Chambliss. And then you've got, I think that's Brandon Key in the 11th, 5th car in line on the inside. So, again, the outside, I always say that it's the opposite of the freeway, right? You pass on the left. In sim racing, you pass to the right when you're on the speedways. The bottom's kind of the riding lane. If I'm 2nd, 3rd, 4th in line on the bottom, I'm not going anywhere. Unless the 34 wants to step out of line. But if you're holding the bottom, you're riding. It's the cars who go to the outside who are the ones that want to make moves. And that's obviously the imperative now, is to get going and push. But, once upon a time, we had 22 cars within a second of the race leader, right, in those massive packs. Look at it now. Your lead pack is 12 cars deep. So there's a lot more room for all these drivers to play with as well.
And we started by bumping a few drivers out of our field. So we started with 43. We're down to 34. So running around on track right now. Out of those cars, only 22 still on the lead lap. So there's been a lot of attrition so far, and with 25 to go, attrition still going to be a key factor. Outside line building momentum once again, and Bobby Krug working his way to the front.
Doing what they can, right? And I wonder if this is, right now at least, not so much about winning the race. I think very few times will you see, with 24 laps to go on the board this time, by the car, lead the final 24 laps in a row. I think David Washington, very familiar that a challenge is going to come at some point, but primarily right now he's keeping the nose clean. He's not getting the engine too hot, right? Getting clean and cool air to the front of the car. He'll want to defend this as long as he can. It's just a matter of, I think, the motivation for the rest of the cars in terms of when they want to get up here and do the dance. We can battle crazy for 24 laps to the end. Is that the best idea? Probably not. So let's watch those second and third cars in line, though. They are almost clear to the outside. I thought Sheen was going up top there with Hal, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think the question is all about those two teammates running in second and third on the inside rows. Caution flag is out. That's going to change things up.
Thank the Lord.
You see Valderrama spinning around. Dylan has been saved, apparently, from what was going on there.
I was the last car on the lead lap and had no draft help. And again, thank the Lord here.
So good timing for the yellow for you.
Yes, I still have a minute of optional repairs left on this car.
Well, I don't know what was going on the back straightaway here. It looks like the 22 car of Stephen Price was pushed by John Ellenberg. He got out of shape, and then they all broke loose. Watch the 13 and the 22 here.
I think aggressive pushing on both sides there. You can see everyone getting a bit loose, contacts made, and about 4, 5, 6 cars get involved there. Unfortunately, this was further back in our pack, so none of the leading cars getting involved there. But this is typical Daytona racing here, Evan. Cars pushing hard and just getting caught out.
And Ellenberg is going to claim responsibility for the incident, so he'll get it into the longest line penalty for the next restart. Not going to be the end-all, be-all for him. He was already running in 21st position, basically at the very back of the lead lap already. So he'll basically just have to deal with all the lap traffic on the restart because the EOL is going to put him behind all of them. But we slow things up. We catch up to the pace car, and everybody disregarding pit road. Of course, all your leaders weren't in the wreck. You see the cars towards the rear of the field diving down for service. Price and company, 14th on back, is where your takers are for pit service. But the cars up front know they have fuel to the end, and I guess they feel confident enough that they'd have fuel for those pesky green-white checkers we talked about earlier, because looks like no signs of coming in. They may be saving a bit of fuel, though.
Yeah, and this opens the door for some of these cars that have damage further back, Evan. Dylan was just mentioning having, more than 60 seconds of optional repairs to get to, and while you're never going to get the car back into 100% condition, you are going to recover a bit more speed, recover a bit more of your drivability as well. So that's going to help out some of these cars, and seeing a few cars getting a wave around as well. So just mixing things up as we approach the last 20 laps of this one.
They're going to get back around and get into the mix. Lights on the pace car. Probably going to stay on for another trip or two around. So we know it's been quite the adventure, and he's currently on pit road. So let's check back in with our RaceSpotTV in-race reporter, Dylan Coyle, who is currently showing to me to be scored in about 20th spot. How's the damage going on pit road?
I'm probably going to have 5 or so seconds left of damage to repair by the time this pace car comes into play. It's 12 seconds back, 8 seconds left. Do I wait? Do I risk it? Okay, I'm going. I got 3 seconds. So 2.5, 2, 1. Come on, get going, get going, get going. All right.
I guess they didn't have a new front clip though for you in the pits, because I'm still seeing a roll bar up and radiator up there.
Yeah, no, we're running a little bit short on cash right now. Blame Hugo for that.
I was going to say it's probably because it's Wawa and not Sheets, but...
okay, where's the Sheets driver?
As well.
We'll keep
where's
track
the Sheets
of that.
driver?
I don't think... So Steve Soa is the one with the Sheets car, but he had Skoll on it tonight, and he's the one that jumped about 10 feet in the air when he hit the access road. On the inside
he has Sheets on the quarter panel, the rear quarter panel, so I am give Wawa a point there.
So a point for Wawa for opening night. Soa is out of the race, 65 laps down, 41st. So we'll give a point to Wawa, and we'll track this as the year goes on, and we'll see who ends up on top at the end of it all. Up front, lights out on the pace car, though, so let's re-rack him and stack him and try him again. Ellenberg to the rear for the cause of the caution. He's going to lose a handful of positions because of that, and it'll be David Washington, Liam Sheen front row. Looks like Washington choosing the outside for this one.
Interesting call here. Maybe a ploy to try and split up the teammates, though, Evan, and try and just break them up a little bit. Let's see how things go on this restart. I think for a lot of these other drivers, it's going to be imperative to stop Sheen and Howe from getting linked up. Just try and prevent them from working together. A lot of other cars in the mix here. Let's see what happens.
A lot of cars still trying to catch up to the back of the field. Up front, though, ready to rock and roll. This restart going to come with 20 laps to go from Daytona International Speedway. What started as a late afternoon start here at the World Center of Racing, starting to tiptoe towards the evening as the sun is diving behind the front straightaway grandstands. Green flag flies. We're back underway.
Washington getting a healthy shove there from Howe, but Howe's going to tuck to the inside, try and link up with his teammate. A much cleaner start here for the outside line, Evan. They've managed, for the most part, to mostly get synced up, but that inside line now getting hooked up as well. Let's see how it's going to develop.
Look at the outside, though, and the inside. Cato's going to step off to the bottom and out of line there, mid-pack through. Somebody else ended up near the outside wall. That might have been the 9 machine of Thomas George. So even off the restart, already these drivers are all over each other. At the front of the field in a spin, in turn 4, it's David Washington.
And I'm not even sure exactly what happened there. I think there might have been some technical issues related to this. Watch the replay. Bobby Krug, there you can see, that's the start of the incident. That's what happens there, Evan. That's so unfortunate for David Washington, leading the race on the restart and taken out by a technical issue.
And I think that an incident that starts like that, right, pretty unavoidable. But a lot of drivers not happy at the subsequent cars that came into it. You just saw it there with David Washington in a good position to win this race. There's a connection issue with Krug at the bottom. He comes up, and then it wasn't that bad for David Washington, but then he got hit by Matt Mara. He also got hit way, way later when he was trying to turn the car around by the 30 of Michael Kaczynski. Admittedly, though, it looks like to me that he kind of pulled in front of Kaczynski, but Kaczynski was carrying some speed, and I don't think that's what Washington, I think that's what he didn't appreciate.
That's just one of those bizarre incidents, Evan. It's one of those things you see just every once in a while, and I mean, you saw on the replay there's not much any of them could really do about the initial contact, and I mean, once that chain reaction has been started and the speeds that we're looking at, nothing you can do. But here we see some interesting calls. Carl Trudell down onto the pit lane, maybe coming down for tires. A few cars electing to follow him.
So wreck-filled season openers so far from Daytona. Dominic Howe now the new race leader. A lot of cars pitting. You know, Trudell. You got Coyle on pit road, Valderrama, Mara, Danson, Bergie. You've also got Ellenberg, Ross, Parrish, and more. So a lot of cars down to get things fixed, most of them with damage. Yeah, I know that we have to hand out the underdog of the race later tonight, Virginia. I think we need to cut a check if there's a single driver who finishes this race with 0 incident points.
Oh, that would actually be a very good one. That's probably the best thing that we could do, because I'm looking at the timing screen right now. There's a lot of drivers up a lot of positions. A few drivers up 20, 30 places in the top 10 right now. So I'm struggling to pick that one right now. Evan, there's a lot of strong shouts for this underdog of the race, and something that we'll get to hand out come the end of 100 laps.
Guys, I feel like I'm back in this thing all of a sudden.
How do you feel? I mean, I know you didn't get a long run there with no front end on the car, but if it helps the car in front of you, it looks like he doesn't have a back end on the car, so maybe you guys can pool together parts and get one functioning race car. By the way, I say the guy ahead of you, that's Andrew Ferdinand, right? Yep. For most of the race, we were saying that he was stuck a lap down. He's since gotten back to the lead lap with damage, but in position 12. So what was looking earlier tonight to be a possible big swing in the points, Ferdinand seems to be salvaging this one pretty good. But how did it drive without the bumper?
A lot better on that restart. I could feel the horsepower was there, and any damage that was keeping the aero from you know, doing what it's supposed to be doing is not there. Oh, we're going single file. I forgot. Rookie rule number 1. If there is a crash, a yellow on the first lap of a restart, you go single file the next time around.
There's a man that reads the rule book or reads the driver's briefing.
The driver's briefing.
Reminded that I'm sure that's more than half of the field, though. So it's good to know that I didn't waste my time sending that out this afternoon.
You did not. I read it multiple times in multiple ways, and I feel proud of my rookie status. I'll tell you what, though, my dog, you might be able to see him a little bit on my camera. He's really saying, hey, can we please go to the bathroom right now?
We see the tail wagging just in the outside of the shot.
Yep. He's right there.
Well, 16, I think, the magic number, single file, so we'll let you get back to it. Everybody else, meanwhile, up front, your new running order after a wreck at the front of the field, going to be Dominic Howe 1, Liam Sheen 2, Bobby Krug 3, Brian Chambliss 4, and Brandon Key will find himself restarting in position number 5. So we'll try it again.
And how worried are some of these drivers going to be about Bobby Krug here, Evan? Because he's had some puffs of smoke emanating from his car throughout the entire race. His internet doesn't seem to appreciate the streaming, the camera he's sending to us, and the racing all at the same time. Let's see if some drivers give him some space.
Green flag flies with 16 laps to go from Daytona. It's the duo up front of Howe and Sheen. They all have to wait to that start-finish line before they try to make a pass on somebody. Some drivers might have been awfully close back in traffic, but the leader's off and away in turn 1.
Yeah, look at the shove that Sheen is giving his teammate right now. Pokes his nose out for some fresh air, tucks in behind as well. Chambliss looking to maybe look to the outside for a moment. Here comes the run from behind. Here comes the outside as well, Evan.
Making some moves, trying to get that top side of the racetrack to work. Right now, though, it's a solo effort. Now it's a big move for Thomas George. He'll go from the bottom to the outside, and now the 04 machine of Anthony Fredericks has drafting help. He'll push outside of turn 4. Look at Chambliss up the road, and he'll go to the outside now. Brandon Key going to follow, and just like that, top side back in business.
Yeah, those two teammates on the inside, they're working together very, very well. 15 laps to go. The outside line getting stronger and stronger as Chambliss tries to challenge for the race lead.
Doing his part, trying to get a checkered flag, working with a little bit of rear end damage. Could make things tricky for that 11 machine of Brandon Key to push him down the back straightaway, but for the moment, it's working. 3/4 of a car length clear, but not enough to dive down to the bottom. So Howe drives it back in, pushed by Sheen. The outside disconnects. They'll have to regroup, try it again.
Anthony Fredericks in the 3rd spot on the outside row is looking aggressive. He's trying to push that outside line to the front. The top 12 cars have broken away now. 2 seconds separates 12th and 13th. So this is the lead group, and if anything happens, this is where it will happen. On board then with Bobby Krug, who's running around at the rear of this group right now. See what he's looking to do.
Doing what he can, right? 5th in line on the outside. You talked about some of those other drivers maybe being a little bit nervous about him after he had that connection issue in 3 and 4 last time. We've seen a lot of those moments tonight, but it's not like it's just one driver, right, who's just been awful all night. It's this guy will have a big spike, that guy will have a big spike, and it's just been one of those days where I don't think the session has been quite 100% with everybody in the field, and I talked about that unpredictability of that element of sim racing. It is always a factor. You have to think it's looming large in their mind now. That time by 13 laps to go. I think once we get inside at 10 laps to go, you don't have time to think about much, right? I think that's going to fall to the back, and they're just going to worry about pushing. And if Krug's the car in front of me, I'm pushing him. We'll see how this plays out. Still side by side for the lead. Chambliss going to try again, this time into 3.
All racing drivers, we want to win. Chambliss is going to potentially slide down to the inside. The 11 is shoving him in long. 25 doesn't choose to dive down to the inside. The two teammates still working very effectively. And Ross Cato in the 12 as well is pushing them nicely outside and inside. Getting a bit strung out now, Evan, as we work towards 12 to go.
And just looking up the road as well, there is virtually no traffic. A lot of the close moments this race have come with lapped traffic. It is clean track up the hill for the moment. It is a top 11 car breakaway from race leader Dominic Howe down through Andrew Faridaj in 11th. And a bit of a gap back, and then you got more cars. You got Avigi, you've got Burgee, Danson, Coyle, and more. There's drivers off of this battle. 12 cars, realistic opportunity to win this race at Daytona. This time by, going to be 11 laps to go. Chambliss, I thought was clear that last time down the Daytona super stretch, didn't take it. Stayed on the outside. Maybe he'd rather be there, because we talked about the inside, really not the place to go to make up spots. Maybe he feels like keeping this lead spot up top better for him if he wants to win this race.
Let's give a shout out as well to the 88, Andrew Faridaj. He's going to be a top contender for our underdog of the race 7. Recovering from being a lap down, significant damage early in this race, running around in this lead pack. I think a good top 5 finish is on the cards for a multiple-time champion, Anthony Frederick, splitting the middle, going 3 wide now.
And there's not going to be enough room. Oh, Chambliss turns. He'll tag the 34. It's a second big one in turn number 3. And there go all your race leaders.
We'll take a look at the replay.
I appreciate that.
We'll take a look at the replay in a few moments' time. Help someone like Dylan out, who was falling away very slightly from the lead pack, but this was interesting here, Evan. You'll see Fredericks down the middle, 3 wide, tries to shove it there, and then contact between Cato and Chambliss.
And I mean, I don't hate the 3 wide move on its own, right? The back straightaway, if anywhere, is the place you're going to go, but it was a combination of Cato actually going up and getting Chambliss, not Fredericks, as you mentioned, who kicked it off. Watch the 21. You can see he's going to be able to car length up off the bottom. It's not a ton, but right there. Just doesn't turn into the corner as quick. Tags the 25, and that's where it all comes from. So it's just unfortunate for Fredericks that he made the move 3 wide, because if he didn't, might have had a better chance of avoiding it.
Yeah, and that is a bummer, I think, so late in the race to have these 2 late race cautions that could have been avoided fairly easily. You'll see Cato going a lane high. That also clips Liam Sheen in front. So now the 2 teammates out front have been separated very slightly. Dominic Howe, basically the only car there, Evan, that got through that one cleanly. This will be an interesting restart coming, but I think about 7 or 6 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea who's going to win this race. I don't know who's got a car good enough to win this race. Here's one more look off of the bumper of your race leader. You'll see the hook right there. P2 goes into the wall. Dominic Howe is scot-free out in front. So he'll maintain the race lead. Ross Cato assuming P2 now, but he has the opportunity to claim the yellow.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Cato looks like he might have gotten away pretty lightly in terms of the damage, but who's going to come and claim that caution? Who's going to take the end-of-line penalty? Doesn't look like Cato has stepped forward just yet. So this might be going to a post-race review that will give Cato the opportunity to at least fight for the checkered flag.
Going to wave around to the outside of the racetrack. That was the 44 of Michael Laraya going from 2 laps down to 1 lap down. Of course, we talked a lot about Andrew Faridaj tonight. We've talked a lot about Daniel Eberhardt. Maybe criminal that we haven't talked much about Michael Laraya, and it hasn't been a great season opener for him thus far here tonight, but what a year it was for him in the Cup Series. Probably should have been the Cup Series champion. He was leading late in the race at Phoenix. Another car wrecked back in the pack. He was out of tires. Andrew Faridaj was not. Got fresh rubber on about a 20, more closer to 10 lap or 5 lap run at the end of the race, actually. Faridaj was able to drive on by to win his 3rd straight RSR Cup Series champion. So Michael Laraya and that whole Flat Out Motorsports team is a very capable group. P24 in the openers, where he sits right now, that'll hurt him with his hopes of, trying to win this championship. Would have thought that this would have been a night to pick up on Faridaj. Faridaj is currently being scored in position 19, so could be better, but certainly could have been worse after he lost the lead lap way early in this. So a lot of those big names who I would highlight as my championship favorites not not with a great season opener. A guy like Dominic Howe currently leading the race. This thing's wide open, at least for the moment. Like we said, bad Daytona, does it take you out of the points? No. But just planting that seed out and giving somebody else hope. It's a dangerous game.
Well, and talking of tire set limits, that's something that's really shaken up the strategy across the board. I mean, it's not just here in the RealSimRacing series, but a very similar situation at Evan played out on the eNASCAR Coca-Cola series, where Bobby Zielinski and Nick Ottinger were scrapping it out for that championship at Homestead. And, you know, final round of this season is going to be at Las Vegas, another place where tires might be crucial, and I think we might see strategy again being something very important. But looking like we're going to go back and restart this time around. 7 laps to go. This will be a shootout all the way till the end.
Now the nerves are there.
You feeling it now?
Nerves are there. Oh yeah, I'm back in 11th, exactly where I started. I have a car without a front bumper, and I am hoping that I get a good jump. I had a horrific jump on the last single file restart. That's why I dropped all the way back. I need the draft if I'm going to have any chance. If I get a bad jump, no way.
Lights off on the pace car. Here we go with a restart front row. Howe and Cato. It's Sheen and Winfield on row number 2. Stephen Price rounding out your top 5. This attempt going to be with 7 laps to go. We are still in regulation. 3 attempts at a green-white checkered overtime finish still to come if necessary. Green flag and a slow start for the outside. It's going to allow Howe and Sheen to pull way away in the run to turn 1. Cato dives. He'll take 3rd.
Teammates already hooked up, and one of their other team cars slightly further back in 5th place. Joe Berge in the 4 trying to get out front, but Cato claiming responsibility for that black flag rather late. So he's not going to take the end-of-line penalty this time around. That will be adjudicated post-race. Single file out front then as we restart towards the end.
A lot going on as well back of the pack. We talk about every point being important with no playoff system. Consistency is going to be the difference maker, but up front, the fight for the checkered flag is on. Here comes Cato to the outside. The 4 of Joe Berge going to push him. There's some smoke behind. Everybody's okay. And Ross Cato right there for the lead at 6 laps to go. He tried to claim responsibility for the last yellow, but he didn't do it in time. Could that be a blessing in disguise? Because he's up front fighting for the win.
Outside line really not forming up very well right now. Joe Berge, the only other car, really committing and trying to push along, but he doesn't really want to compromise his teammate down on the inside line. By the way, Dylan Coyle impressively up into 9th position. And I don't know if you noticed this, Evan, but IWRAPS in our chat, our YouTube chat, has decided to give out 1 free month if Dylan finishes in the top 10 for an iRacing service subscription. So Dylan looking to power some of our chat members
no
out on
pressure.
track.
There's a month iRacing subscription to somebody watching live on RaceSpotTV right now. If that number 79 finishes this race in the top 10, right now scored in position number 9. There's another teammate duo, Trevin Valderrama, Devin Winfield, 7th and 8th position. Here they come on the inside. Those are 2 very heavily damaged, but still on track subpar racing Chevys. Can they challenge the duo of the likes of Howe and Sheen, who have since gotten, split up a little bit? And then that 4 of Joe Berge, if he could come into the mix, you could have 3 of those Toyota-powered cars together on track at the same time. This time, 4 laps to go from Daytona. Is this going to be the run to the end?
Someone needs to pop up to the high line if they want to try something different. Cato not getting pushed by Berge anymore. He's starting to drop off. 3rd car now in line is going to get past. Price is actually going to get past here. And now here comes Matt Danson as well. So outside line not working, and they're now single file. Almost 15 cars deep. This is not what that outside line needs. And this is what those 2 teammates out front were hoping for.
The only car there right now is Kato, and I wonder if that's why some other drivers in line aren't going to the top yet, right? Because if you go right now, you're just going to help Kato. I think they're all waiting to clear him. So is it going to be the 22 of Stephen Price who goes up top? But Kato has a clean car on a spin. Falder, it's Winfield into the outside wall. I think that was me. And now we're going to go to overtime.
I feel like that was sort of me.
Well,
I claim responsibility if it is.
I was going to say, we're going to take a look at the replay now, but I think that 1 month subscription has just gone up in smoke. Dylan trying to take a poke to the inside here of the number 45. Those two teammates in front trying to work together, but even with that damage, Dylan with some superior momentum, and contact was made, and, well, Dylan, you might want to claim the responsibility there.
I had momentum. I guess do I have to type in C?
That's the way to do it if you're taking it.
All right. How do I hold on? My keypad. Hold on.
Let's get a live look at Dylan as he tries to claim responsibility for the penalty.
Well, he's trying to work with the keyboard. Let's see if he can get it in.
At least you're not in VR. That would make it more
God.
difficult.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Oh, man, I feel bad about that. I really do.
And we do have the claim, so that'll be a single penalty point against your total. 6 is the number which gets you parked for a week, so that'll be an end of the longest line penalty. I feel bad for whoever could have been our potential one-month winner. It's not over. However, it'll be 21st on the lead lap, but also behind probably another dozen cars that would look better in a junkyard than they would on track. You're going to have to deal with all of those. And to be fair, maybe your car fits in the mix as well. It doesn't look too hot, but it was fast.
Yeah. Oh, man. And what do I do right now? Do I just drop all the way back? Yep.
There you go.
I got oh, man. I want to say words, but
it happens. One of just 8 cautions tonight, so I don't think we can throw any rotten fruit at you or anything. Because
and it wasn't like it was terribly egregious.
We've seen more egregious incidents tonight, Arjuna, would you say?
Yeah, that looked like a racing incident, fairly innocuous, just a late race. That's sometimes what happens, you know?
Yeah, why did I have to claim responsibility for that?
I mean, you didn't have to,
but then... If you claim
it,
it's only 1 penalty point. If you don't claim it, it is 2.
Yeah,
and then
but...
you're that much closer to getting parked for a week.
Okay, but 2 questions there. If I didn't claim it, would I still be able to keep this result?
Correct.
Oh, I shouldn't have claimed it.
The penalty point would be doubled.
I don't care. I was running. I blame this on Arjuna.
Oh, no, now
he peer pressured him into claiming the caution, so he's going all the way to the back.
I'm going to say that Dylan had already mentioned he was going to claim the responsibility before. I just agreed with him. I just confirmed his decision making.
Sure, yeah. You know, Evan, or the guy who gives me the penalty point, is the one. I was just seeing. I didn't know if there was like a what is. Yep, 45. Go by. I was like,
I think you wrecked him, so watch out.
Oh. Is that really who I wrecked?
Yeah. I don't think you can tell anymore because the sheet metal is off the car, so it doesn't look like it used to, but I think that's what that was. He was pulling up saying he didn't appreciate it.
I'm not sure if the broadcast has my face on it, but it's red as anything. Oh, man. Okay, well, there's still things that can happen, okay?
Things and stuff still to go. And it is going to be attempt number 1 at up to 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. No changes in the top 5. Still Dominic Howe, Liam Sheen, Ross Cato, Stephen Price, and Trevin Valderrama. I'm not sure any of those cars are clean, maybe with the exception of Cato. And nobody, seemingly, Arjuna, wanted to work with him on the outside that last time. But I think he's probably the fastest car here just based on, well, his car looks the best.
This restart is going to be crucial for him. Can he split the two teammates? Hao doesn't have the damage that Sheen has on the inside, but a good jump here from Kato is going to push himself in front of Sheen and give him that ability to try and challenge Hao for this race win. Hao's starting on the outside. He's elected to go to the outside. Let's see how much communication is being done between the two teammates about when exactly to get the power down.
Could be. For the final time tonight, it'll be attempt number 1 at a green-white checker overtime restart. Teammates on the front row. It's going to be Dominic Hao up high and Liam Sheen on the inside. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go at Daytona.
Kato with an awful start, not getting any momentum on the jump there, and Hao has jumped out to a several car length advantage, but here comes the rest of the packs. Going through turn number 1, the rest of the pack further back, not really getting the momentum they need to close up here. So these 6 cars contending for the win.
And more going to try to build up that momentum, but you're right, if you don't get a good start, you're going to be a little bit handicapped because you don't have a ton of time to kind of wind it up. Normally they take about 2 laps to get up the full song. This time in 3 and 4, looking for the white flag this time by. Still just Kato on the top. 6 cars lead. Valderrama leads a pack in 7th, but it might be too far as Dominic Hao looks, and he'll take the white flag.
So we're official then. Hao and Sheen working together, looking good for the two teammates. But can Kato on the outside try and challenge?
And no help still. Do the teammates stay together, or does Liam Sheen dare go to the outside, work with the 12, and fight against his teammate for the win? It's the final time down the super stretch.
Light contact out to the outside goes Price. He's going to try and help Kato then as we work our way in towards turn number 3. Is the help going to come from behind Danson and Burgee, the other 2 cars, as the chasing pack as well is building up some momentum.
Kato tries to pinch, but no help at a turn 4. Dominic Hao holds the bottom. There's contact behind. Sheen going to go 3 wide and the wreck for second, but Dominic Hao wins the Winter Series opener on a green-white checkered finish at Daytona.
And the wrecking still going on across the start-finish line as well. But Dominic Hao controlled that final restart there, Evan. Did exactly what he needed to do. Got the right jump to slot in front of his teammate. And then across the line, no one challenged the 86 to the win.
It was loyalty for the 34, right? I think Liam Sheen probably could have somewhat safely gone to the outside and challenged his teammate, right? More times than not, it'll be decided between those 2, but he didn't risk it. He held the bottom. You can see the spinning from behind. Sheen got turned sideways. He would come across, for Kato, I should say, sideways, would come across for a finish in 3rd. But the win goes to Hao by about a 1/10 of a second and change. And those proximity cars with a great showing 3 of the top 4 positions. And now he'll celebrate on the front straightaway. First winner of the 2021
I just got
RealSimRacing IWRAPS Winter Series is Dominic Hao. And it sounds like, Dylan, you're still having fun.
It came back and spun me. 2 things.
I told you he wasn't happy.
I know. 2 things I'm going to say there. 1, I'm going to plead to IWRAPS, okay? If you saw my avoidance after the flag, I think that's worthy of a free month for somebody. And I finished 13th after an EOL. Please, don't make this my mistake. Please. Oh, and the other thing, that was fun.
It was a race. Very different, as you mentioned, compared to what we saw in last year's season opener. Only 2 yellows for that one. It had the excitement, it had the drama, and it had a lot of wrecks. And I think that those are probably the 3 things that you think of when you think of super speedway racing. And there's the teammates on the front straightaway. The race winner in Dominic Hao joined by teammate Joe Burgee, who comes home in 4th. Let's take a look at your IWRAPS full field results, and you can see it there. Dominic Cow, race winner atop Matt Danson and Ross Cato, 1, 2, 3. We'll talk with all of them in just a little bit. With Joe Burgee and Trevin Valderrama, the top 5. Stephen Price, Liam Sheen, Andrew Friedage through P8. That's big pickup for the 88, who was in the 30s, I think, for basically the entire first half of the race. John Roddins, 9th, and Sean Kalist comes home in 10th.
Carl Trudell then in the 7 car comes home in 11th. John Ellenberg in 12th with RaceSpot's own Dylan Coyle in 13th. Thomas George in 14th. Shane Parrish ends up in 15th. Jaron Weinmaster in 16th. Matthew Mara in 17th. James Ross about 9 seconds down the road in 18th place. Devin Winfield in 19th. Then Brandon Key in 20th.
Continuing on down through, Bobby Krug is going to finish this race on the lead lap, just barely, but he does finish it on the lead lap. He'll also squeak in with Abuaji, who comes home 22nd. The rest of the cars laps down. It'll be Michael Araya, John Fowler, Braxton DeWeese still in it. I think the rest of these cars were out. It'll be Ryan Chambliss, Anthony Fredericks, Nick Barra, Tom Moreno, and David Washington through 30th.
Daniel Eberhardt ends up in 31st. Michael Kaczynski in 32nd. Lots of big names not getting to the end. Garrett Hess, Eric Stanford 33rd and 34th. Dane Cruz in the 46th car, involved in one of our cautions, ends up in 35th. Gary Weaver, who had some technical issues, ends up in 36th. Jeremy Miller in 37th. Kyle Kamer in 38th. Nick Silver and Joseph Tice 39th and 40th.
And at the very back, Steve Soa. You've also got Marius Lachinsky and Steve Durham, 41st, 42nd, and 43rd. Rough night for those drivers who were wrecked out of this one early. So look top to bottom at your full race results powered by IWRAPS. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. When we come back to Daytona, we'll talk with your top finishers. It's Dominic Cow, the season opener winner for the RealSimRacing IWRAPS Winter Series.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was always fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos or danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all will be kept in the pits. Not to mention that with members in over 130 countries already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series and work your way up to one of 7 world championships, offering over $500,000 in prize money. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Back live for the virtual Daytona International Speedway, where RealSimRacing's IWRAPS Winter Series is now 1 week down and 9 weeks to go as the 2021 season is officially underway, and happy to have you along for the ride on RaceSpotTV as we welcome you back into the booth along with our producer Hugo Luis, myself Evan Pasoko, our Junior Conkipati, and what a mess. But it's Daytona, right? I think we expected it to be a little bit chaotic. This one lived up to that. A lot of fast cars taken out, a lot of big names taken out. And how about Dominic Cow, race winner tonight from Daytona? That team worked really great together, and I think that strength in numbers contributed to why they had so many cars up front.
Yeah, a bit messy. There was a lot of big incidents that mixed up the running order, but the two teammates working very well in the closing portions of the race, and Hal taking home a very well-deserved race win. A great way to kick off our winter series here.
Let's talk with some of these guys and let's see who we got on pit road with us. Let's talk with our race winner, Dominic Howe, who kicks off this 2021 campaign with a trip to victory lane. We're talking with the driver of the number 86 machine now. Dominic, congratulations on the win. Started up front, finished up front, but tell us the tale of how this one went for you.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was definitely different. I totally thought I was out of it when I got spun way earlier in that, and cautions came the right way. My teammates helped me out, and I was able to stay up front. I was able to dodge a lot of wrecks, and yeah, I was able to be there at the end. These things are a lot of survival, and I'm very psyched about this one.
I think especially tonight, right? Even though your car's in victory lane, it's still not off scot-free. Tell us about some of those close calls, what you did, or at least attempted to do to make sure the car stayed clean, just to keep yourself in this, because we saw a lot of cars get up there and fight with you for the race win, but evidently get involved in incidents and bow out as the night went on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Honestly, I'm speechless. Yeah, I don't know. At the front, there were comers and goers, and me and Liam just worked together the whole time. And Liam stayed with me, and we had that inside line locked down pretty well. And then when the 98 car was with us, we were pretty unbeatable until he crashed out. But we came in here and we said we were going to be there at the end, and everybody else, they just wanted to come to the front, and we were able to stay there.
Was there any concern late in this one that, you get left by the 12 there, or were you guys pretty committed to sticking together on the bottom?
Me and Liam were pretty committed. I wasn't sure if he was going to try to pull out and pass me or not, but when the 12 got to my outside on the final lap and boxed him in, I knew he was going to be pushing me. And, yeah, because the last lap was pretty much going to be a free-for-all, but he decided to stay with me, and I'm thankful for that.
A race win in the season opener, I know, always has to feel good. How does this set the tone for this season, knowing that you're the points leader, you won the first time out, and have a good opportunity to carry some momentum going?
Yeah, this Xfinity car is probably not my strongest vehicle on the sim, so I have a good feeling about Richmond coming up, and I feel like I'm going to struggle on the road courses, but a good points day and some consistent finishes all season long will have me in there. I know Drew and a bunch of other people are really, really good, so I look forward to racing with them all season long.
And we're happy to have you with us. Racing at RSR, competed on Monday nights. Dominic, congratulations on the race win in tonight's IWRAPS 250, and we hope to get many more opportunities to chat with you down the road.
Yep, thank you.
The winner tonight, in the back foot of that was the 05 of Matt Danson, who squeaks home tonight in second position, and our junior talking with the driver of the 05.
Yeah, it was a interesting day for Matt, who went up and down through the field, but ending up in second. Matt, talk to us about that race and about some of the ups and downs, because like I'm saying, you really spent a lot of that race out front, a lot of that race out back as well, and it was good that at least at the checkered, you finished up in second.
Yeah, it was intense. I was minding my own business at the start, and then had all of a sudden had myself flying through the grass, which was a surprise. And like you said, sort of yo-yoed up and down through the field after that. Just I probably about halfway, I said to myself, like a top 10 would be like a win, just because of the what's happened. And then just found myself fortunately in the right place. Things just fell my way, I guess.
Well, it's an interesting calendar on the Winter Series. You've got some super speedways, you've got some interesting variety on the oval, you've got some short tracks and some 1.5 miles as well. But then we've got the road courses, so there's a lot of variety and a lot of opportunities for different drivers to show where their strengths are. What are you looking forward to this season? What have you marked on the calendar as some of the races where you think you can shine?
Well, I mean, I'll probably like as an Australian, I think I have to just by default be good at road course. So if I don't do well there, I'll embarrass all of my peoples. So that I'm looking forward to them. Even though I've never driven a stock car at Montreal or Indy Road. But probably like tracks like Richmond and the short tracks, they can often lend some pretty fun racing. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most. But yeah, road courses, I guess I'm hoping to get a good result there.
And being an Aussie, I'm guessing that oval racing isn't something that too many of the other people in the community do. So talk to us a little bit about your passion for the oval side of things and why you've come to compete here in the real sim racing side of things.
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. For some reason, I've just always been like. Obviously, I grew up watching circuit racing, touring cars and F1 and stuff like that, and I still love that. But I just picked up a passion for oval racing, NASCAR in like the late '90s, early 2000s, and I don't know. I just always found that super exciting. I got NASCAR Racing 4, and all that sort of thing back in the day, and it just really brought me in. Like I think those games actually like helped me become interested in the oval side of racing, and then that just followed through once I took a bit of a breather from sim racing for 15 years, and then came back on iRacing a couple of years ago. And I don't know, the oval racing is just it's an intense type of racing, so I think that's just what draws me. And then I guess RealSimRacing, I was recommended by a few guys that it's a good league with some strong drivers, guys that I've raced with in Top Split and stuff like that a number of times. So yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into it and hopefully putting on a good show.
And before we let you go, then, anyone from the team at Horizon Racing Team that you want to thank for the second place finish?
No, they did nothing. It was all me. What do you mean? No, obviously, thanks to all the boys. It's a great team, and we've got Seth DeMerchant and Donovan Strauss fighting it out in the on the pro side. Hoping to make it to the top level. So fingers crossed for them. But yeah, cheers to you guys as well for putting on the whole league and the show and everything. So yeah, thanks.
Well, enjoy that result, and we'll see you then in 1 week's time from Richmond.
Cheers, mate.
That was the second place finisher, Matt Danson, in the 0-5. And now let's talk to the third and final podium finisher, Ross Cato, in the 12 machine. And Ross, it was a interesting final 20 laps or so for you there, involved in some contact. And, well, I think there's going to be some trepidation there about the review that Evan's going to do about that incident. You didn't claim responsibility for that, but that's one thing the only little thing that clouds this third place finish here.
Yeah, it's really not what happened is what you can prove, I guess. Well, I did take a screenshot of the chat when I typed it in. It was my mistake to not type it into the more communal chat that we share as drivers and as race control. I typed it into a team chat with my spotter, but I have screenshotted it and I will be submitting that as proof. Hopefully Evan can see that as me being genuine in taking responsibility for that. I still don't know to what degree I was responsible for that last caution. My spotter made it rather clear to me that I drifted up, and I'll review it and I'll reach out to those guys that were involved. I rarely ever cause caution, so it's a really big thorn in my side when I do something so ill-informed as that. Aside from that, the connection issues that we as drivers experienced this race, I suddenly blinked out early on. I think it was lap 7, and it was it caused a big wreck. Apparently, I haven't seen that replay either, but it just could never really settle in and race. There was always some sword hanging over my head by a string that I was always concerned with. But happy to pull off this third place finish. Hopefully it stands and it's not encumbered in any sort of way. But all in all, happy that I'm back and racing in this series. So,
well, it was a really wild race, and much like Matt Danson, who finished in second, you were a driver who was up and down through the field, having to fight your way back through various setbacks. It must have been a very interesting way to start this winter campaign off. And I was just mentioning to Matt as well, this is a very different type of a calendar. You've got these big super speedways, you've got the 1.5 milers, you've got the short tracks as well, and then you've got the road courses. So a lot of different things, and it's good to at least get this nice result in the season opener. And you can carry that momentum throughout the season, especially next week as we head to Richmond.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the outset, the finish you get at Daytona really sets the tone for the next few races that you're going to be competing in. And Richmond is also one of my favorite tracks, and I'm excited to turn 200 laps there. I notice a lot of rhythm tracks on the schedule with the road courses and with New Hampshire, and I'm really excited to be trying my hand at this rather unique schedule this winter, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully I can continue to make good relationships with the fellows that I'll be competing with, and I'll be sure to levy my apologies to those who were involved in that wreck.
So, I mean, how comfortable are you with this car? We're competing here in the Xfinity car, and a lot of the other real sim racing competitions are up there in the Cup car. This has got a bit more power than the current Cup car package has. It's got a bit more of an interesting feel, in my opinion. Do you like this, or is this something you find a bit more difficult to try and understand as a driver?
Yeah, the way the car behaves is something that you kind of have to get used to, and I prefer this Xfinity car to the Cup car. I even prefer it over the truck. I think it's a nice, wholesome vehicle, and doing long runs on this type of vehicle is just so fun. It makes for a thrilling race when you have green flag stops and you're trying different lines and catching guys on a long run. And I really do perk up every time I hear that this series is going to be renewed in the wintertime.
Well, before we let you go, Ross, anyone from the team that you want to thank for this podium finish?
Yeah, I want to thank all my buddies. We're sort of the Aegis for sale, No Name Motorsports contingent, I guess. I don't really know what the name is anymore, but Andrew Farniars, Daniel Eberhardt, let's see, Eric Stanford, David Washington, Sean Callis, had a big fortune of having him sponsor me for another league a few weeks ago with RealSimRacing. And thank Galen Goodman. He was my spotter tonight. He has been a very big help in me setting up Fast Forward Esports, my team. And thank my girlfriend who was watching. And I probably have another few friends watching. And just to let y'all know, I don't always race like that, okay? I made a few mistakes tonight, and we had some technical difficulties that amplified that. But I hope you guys tune in more, and hope I get some more podiums.
It's Daytona,
thanks to
man.
you guys.
It's Daytona. Anything and everything can happen here, so don't worry too much about it. Go enjoy this podium finish, and we'll see you then in a week's time at Richmond.
Okay, thank y'all so much for such a professional broadcast, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving indeed. So that was the driver of the number 12, Ross Cato, who comes home in third place. And Evan, you have some updated points for us.
We do. So we have the point standings, and again, the way that the points work in this series is the same as the Cup Series. So race winner, 40 points. That's the only time, though, it'll be a big margin. Second place gets 35, and it's 1 point from there on back. Once you get to 36, though, everybody only gets 1 point. So it really does pay to either not be at the very back and or be at the very front of the field. But we do have the updated points, and it is exactly your finish sheet order. Dominic Howe going to walk away with some bonus points in the back pocket. That's because he led both a lap, which is 1 bonus point, and the most laps, which is another. Those are the only 2 possible bonus points you can walk away with. So he gets a bonus point in 2. He'll end up with 42 points. Matt Dancing with a single bonus point for leading a lap. He led 6 of them. He'll get one to go from 35 to 36. Then from there on back, it's basically your finishing order. And the good news for Ross is I know that we have to still go through our entire post-race review, so we always say points are unofficial, results are unofficial, but Ross, his P3 finishing position should be good to go, so not going to be any issues there, and those are going to be your points. Andrew Friedrich, 8th in the points with 29. Not a great night, admittedly, for him, but, I mean, you look at the other names. A lot of these drivers, I think, Arjuna can fight for wins this year, but there's no Michael Loraya. No Daniel Eberhardt, right? I mean, the cars that raced against him in the Cup finale. And if anything, going from the Cup cars to the Xfinity cars, it makes these even more dependent on driver skill than the Cup cars. So those drivers, I think, have that much more of a leg forward. Do I think we're going to see guys like George get good runs? Absolutely. A lot of these new names, like a Dominic Howe getting a win, we'll have to wait till we get to those Richmonds and Michigans, right, to kind of really see what they have. But a fascinating start to this 10-race championship, and we're ready now for Richmond next Monday night for a second time out.
Yeah, Richmond's such a different track. I think Farinaj did a very good job of recovering in this one, Evan. So much difficulty early on in the race, laps down throughout parts of this race as well. To come back, get that top 10 finish, it sets him up nicely as he could hope for, given how the first 10 laps or so went for him. For the rest of this 9-race season ahead of us, Richmond, Michigan, Montreal, the next 3 races in front of us, and should be a lot of fun to look forward to.
We'll give it thanks to our friends at McConey Setup Shop, who are going to be providing us with the custom fixed setups for Montreal and Indianapolis Road, because if it's available, it's a fixed setup series. We always use the iRacing defaults, but those folks are always good helping us out with the fixed setups. Of course, a big thanks to IWRAPS for being the title partner. And before we go, we still have our XPM Underdog of the Race Award to give out, and I delegated that to you, which I'm going to plan on doing each week, by the way, so be prepared for that. So for a $5 bonus for tonight's Underdog of the Race, who are you thinking?
I think we've got to go with the 88. Farinaj, such a class driver, but to come back from early difficulty, that's really the mark of a championship driver. It's not about what you can do out front all the time. It's what you can do when you're in those tough positions, how you can fight back. And while other drivers, the likes of Eberhardt and Loraya, had some more difficult runs, not able to recover, Farinaj doing a very impressive job to stick it out to the end.
It'll be a $5 bonus for him, another $5 donated to 3 Square Food Bank, and we're going to be doing this all season long. But at least until next time, that's it for us here tonight for the virtual Daytona International Speedways. On behalf of our entire team at RaceSpotTV, the team over at RealSimRacing, and for our broadcast crew tonight, for Hugo Luis downstairs, for our in-race reporter Dylan Coyle, for our Junior Concupati, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate the surprise winner tonight. How about Dominic Howe, winner tonight in the season opener at Daytona? We are back in 1 week's time for the second trip out for the virtual Richmond Raceway. That race and every race of the 2021 RealSimRacing IWRAPS Winter Series can be found exclusively right here on RaceSpotTV. Until next time, good night from Daytona, where Dominic Howe is your race winner.